YouTube, it's Brian Phillips again with the much anticipated radio setup. But first, we have to see what's in the very small bomb case. You guys have been complaining about the audio quality on this channel for many moons. So, whether or not it's better, we ended up going with this photo welt because most of you know that the camera crew has many snide, rude remarks to add.
Everyone wants to hear.
So what we're gonna do is these are on. We are not plugged into the phone yet. So we're just using our wonderful, perfectly good audio from the Galaxy S9. And we are going to plug in now and we're gonna see how this goes. Okay guys, can you hear me now? See, the problem with this is that you guys are gonna be able to hear all my snide remarks, which are usually said under breath. Mm-hmm. So this is the behind the scenes action that you don't want to have to watch on YouTube, because it's like YouTube is behind the scenes. If you have a channel that's good enough to not be behind the scenes like mine is, then you have a much bigger channel. So there is the mic. We're gonna see how this works. The camera crew is gonna check me and see if this looks good.
Well, it's gonna touch your collar.
Okay.
I think you're gonna have to move it down.
We'll pause it and we'll spend some more time on this.
Right.
Okay guys, so that's what you get. When you see this obnoxious thing, you can just think, wow, the audio is a lot better now.
We hope.
It better be a lot better. So anyway, this is the little bomb case it comes with. So having a lapel mic probably still picks up the annoying beeping. But okay, so we'll talk about that for just a very brief second. Wow, look, I'm walking away from you, not facing the camera, breaking all the videography rules. And now I'm facing you and you can still hear me, which is nice. Okay, so this is the battery we're gonna use in this plane, which is the 3200 4S 30C Smart Pack. We were just topping it off because these things have an automatic discharge. We're gonna use the DX18 Gen 1. And we're still in decision mode as to what exact receiver we're going to use.
We are?
There's a slight decision still necessary. So, as you can see, we have two different choices. This is the Lemon RX7 channel with stabilization. Some of you are cheering in your chairs at home saying, first of all, we can hear you, and we can hear the camera crew. And then second of all, you're gonna use this thing. Well, yeah, except I've got this, which is better. Now, I haven't done this ever before. I'm a little bit nervous to do it. And you know what's cool is supposedly we can program this from the radio, guys. Not on the computer, okay? Not on the computer, not with Bluetooth, not with the wired connection, not with any of that crap. You use the radio system. Now,
tell them what that one is.
What? The AR637T?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just assumed they could read.
That.
I mean, some of these people, I mean, there's some that probably can't read. Or maybe they don't read English. So there you go. So we're going to use Google Translate to tell them AR637T in English. So there you go. Hey, by the way, I read the manual on this, so you'll notice when I open it, it's actually been opened. But that's okay. The reason I am super reluctant to use this, even though it's probably like 10 times the gear that this is, here's my reason. Here's the fundamental reason I went with this instead of this. This thing has 20 channels inside of it, which is awesome, but only 6 are available for hooking up, okay? This has built-in Vario, which is awesome. I've heard some complaints about the Vario having a lot of latency, but honestly, I'm not sure. Evidently, it's so latent that you can't even use it in a sailplane. I doubt that, but I've heard that once. We'll see if that works, but we're not gonna probably worry about the Vario on this plane. If you don't know what a Vario is, it's gonna be basically a barometer and it tells you if you're going up or you're going down. So beep, 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 beep. There you go, good thing we got the lapel mic. That helps you when you're trying to thermal with sailplanes, okay? That's usually what people do, but some people use it for rate of descent so they can figure out how fast they're gonna crash and all these things. So anyway, these Lemon RX 7 channel with stabilization are evidently kind of hard to come by right now because the shipping out of Hong Kong is a little bit tricky. This is also from Hong Kong. So if you can't figure this out, you're probably not gonna figure that out. By the way, I got links to this. I got links to this. Check the description, guys. We're gonna go with this. We're gonna see, now why am I going with this? I can adjust the gains for all 3 axes from the radio, which is awesome. Now on this, I've got trim pots, potentiometers. There's 3 of them. And then the master gain is on channel 8. And on channel 5 is my on-off switch. Now, in Lemon RX's vast wisdom, they should have made a switch that forced the stabilization always on, because I hate wasting channel 5. The reason they do that is because not everybody has 18 channels, so this works great for people with 5-channel radio systems, because then you can go ahead and take advantage of stabilization on and off, because if you overstabilize it, you can crash your plane. Well, I have master gain, and I always tie it to this channel, which this is not a channel, but I would tie it to auxiliary 3, I believe. It's like channel 8. And then I can use my master gains there. And you're like, well, why don't you just do that, Brian? You could, and there's no reason why this wouldn't work in this plane. So we'll link to that. Go for it if you want. But I'm gonna use this today, and it's gonna be awesome. And I can't actually wait, because there's all sorts of cool telemetry stuff I'm just learning. You haven't seen it yet, but I have another project where I did have to hook up to the computer, and it was a huge pain in the butt. So I'm very excited to try this. This is kind of like pulling a Band-Aid off. I really don't want to do it because it'd be such a pain, but it's not going to be such a pain because I can do it through my radio system. Whereas the 636A and B, you had to hook up to the programming cable, you had to download software, you had to do all sorts of crap, and I don't want to do that stuff. I'm just going to use this thing instead, which means that on the fly, when you're out at the field, you can make your adjustments. Of course, out at the field is like, 30 feet from my computer, 50 feet from the computer. We have a little bit of a nuanced situation there. Ironically enough, we're going to be using the not 3M branded sticky tape, whatever came with the Lemon RX, because that's what I want to use. This also has a push button for binding as opposed to a bind plug. You can still use a bind plug on this if you get it buried inside the plane in a weird spot. Thirdly, other questions you guys are going to have, I'll think of them as we go. But the reason I'm going with this is just because I want the best range. I want the best chance of success for this plane, because it's going to be gorgeous. And when I'm ready, here's the other big drawback here. This is 6 channels with stabilization. I call them a 7-channel with stabilization because there actually is 7 channels. The 8th of which you can't hook to, okay? So you can plug to the bind plug, and that's another channel if you guys didn't know that already, auxiliary 2. So auxiliary 1, of course, would be your gear. And then you can go to the bind plug for one more. Don't hook up. Certain retracts will actually force that into bind mode, so be aware of that. Same is true for actually most of these devices. So I believe you can also use your bind plug for an extra channel on this, possibly. But I don't know that for a fact. If that's the case, I actually end up with more usable channels on this than I do on this. And all my telemetry data can be assigned to higher channels, up to, in my case, 18. Which I probably won't. I'll probably just go up to like 8 or 9 or whatever it takes, because you have to turn on expanded mode. Enough yet, camera crew? So anyway, I put a lot of thought into this. I know you guys are probably hurting, some of you, the Lemon RX lovers. I am one of those Lemon RX lovers. But we're going to do this today. So that being said, let's look in the bomb case for a moment. Okay, so this is what comes on the lapel set. Obviously, the reason we went with this, and you're like, well, why don't you just get a Rhodes, Brian? Road, singular, road. Why didn't you get a Rode, Brian? I didn't get a Rode because A, it's significantly more expensive. We watched a bunch of reviews. People had some better audio quality, and they did. I mean, we watched a ton of reviews. We go to YouTube just like you guys. Don't worry, we're not special. We just go to YouTube and we decide what we're gonna buy, just like you do. Buy this thing, buy this thing, buy that thing. It's just like you at home. The difference is we're just using it, and then we're going to tell you what to buy. So it's no big deal. This is a manual. It's got Chinese right in the header, so that's good. I have no idea what that says. It could say
It says wireless video microphone.
your mother is very fat and ugly. I don't know. If I was Chinese, I would do that. So anyway, there's that. The instruction manual is not really explicit. It doesn't really have a lot to talk about. Comes with extra lapel thingies. But the reason we went with this comes with a USB-A to USB micro. 2 of those. And these are micro, not mini, okay? And not USB-C. I heard somebody say C, and I'm like, what are you talking about? This isn't USB-C. USB-C is omnidirectional. You can plug it in either way. Yeah. It's also, I think, might be compatible with some of the Apple products, but I don't know. Don't hold me to that. I know nothing about Apple. Comes with 2 of those. It comes with this little thing. What's that, like a dog ear or something? I forget what they call it. It's all something weird. All you camera people, all you YouTubers that have, thousands of subscribers that actually do. Oh wait,
we just use a phone.
We just use a phone. because we're in America. And we got our windy cushion things. I have no idea what they're called. I think they're called...
That's some sort of like muff thing.
Muff. It's a muff. So anyway, it comes with this nice case.
You're skipping the important parts of this.
The case. Oh,
No.
the camera crew has a channel too.
Yes.
So as you can see, I have this thing on me.
Yep.
Okay, that's channel A. Channel B is attached to my wife in an awkward position.
On my belt.
And the other one is attached in her breast pocket. We're not going to give you a close-up of that. But that's, she got about this far to go with the camera.
Yep.
So we'll have to figure something out there. I know this is totally unrelated to the airplane, but sorry, shameless plug. If you like the way this works and you like the way it sounds, check the link in the description and you can buy one. What?
This was
half the price.
Half the price of a Rode mic with only one channel.
Yeah, and you can only ever do one channel with
Right.
Rode. That was why we went with this.
The Rode one doesn't come with the lapel mic. You have to buy all that stuff extra.
Which is fine if you want a little clip-on solution and it'll work great.
Right.
The problem is you can only have one channel.
So then the other popular option out there is the Ceremonic.
Yeah.
But all the reviews we watched, as soon as someone turned around or walked away,
Disconnect,
you were gone.
disconnect.
And
And I'm constantly turning around with my back to
Always,
the camera.
always.
I'd be fired if I was on a production crew.
Always.
Always. Constantly.
So this
Face the camera, Brian.
This is an inexpensive option with two transmitters.
Plus, it's got all the Chinese
and
instructions.
all the Chinese instructions.
And English-ish.
And it comes with all the lapel mics. It comes with the cable so that you can charge.
So we weren't trying to cheap out for once.
Yes,
I mean,
we were.
seriously, $200 is not going to kill us. It's just, we wanted the solution that's going to meet our demands,
Yeah.
Now, why else did we want this? Because I want to be able to film audio from the camera crew and audio from myself. My concern is we're going to be out filming something. There's probably a good chance that we're not going to be doing lapel mics. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel and you haven't seen what's led up to this, it's about 1,500 videos of me going, I can't be heard, I can't be heard. That's why. So if you want to skip past this, I'll link in the bottom. You can just click the timestamp. You go straight to when I'm beating my head against the wall, setting up this radio system, and you'll enjoy that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But if you want the backstory, here it is. So we're doing this now because I've answered the comment, I mean hundreds, thousands, hundreds of times, that says, hey, you really need a lapel mic. And I say, I don't want to break the back with the straw camel. What am I trying to say? Straw that broke the camel's back.
There you go.
And what I mean by that is, look at this beautiful, clean house that we're in. That isn't the way it is in real life. This is real life YouTube real life, okay? So in real life, when you have 4 kids and 3 cats that crap everywhere, you have to pick that stuff up. No, I'm just kidding. The cat's actually poop in a box like other cats. But I mean the kids. It's captured, it's okay. Anyway, when you have 4 kids, you'll understand. Because most of the YouTubers you see, I'm just gonna clue you in on this. Most of the YouTubers you see don't have 4 kids running around. I'm just saying, because they are the kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think I just called us old.
I think you did. It's a process.
It's a process.
And now we have another process.
And now we have another thing to do. So now that you've heard our sob story in perfect,
Feel bad for
beautiful
this
audio. This audio better not suck. That's all I've got to say, because if it doesn't, this thing's going in the trash.
No, it's not. It's going back to Amazon.
That's true. We'll return it. Just want the money back. All right. Now that you've had your backup, I'm just going to take this bomb case and securely stow it in the overhead baggage. Okay, so I told my camera crew that we would stop the video just in case this was a huge, miserable failure, which it, pretty much has lived up to all her hopes and dreams. So we'll stop it. We'll jump back into this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you can hear. And hopefully I'm not like 100 times louder than her or vice versa. Because that was the other, yeah, your camera crew is so loud. Well, that's because she was like this far from the camera mic. And I was like, 700 feet away, yelling
You're
like a
normally much
weirdo.
louder than me, so we should be back to real life
Our
now.
neighbors moved to the country. Did I turn myself off? No. Our neighbors, our poor neighbors, they moved to the country. Now, we were in like a arms race to build our houses, okay? So it was hilarious because they bought their property, like they pretty much signed a commitment to buy 1 hour before we did.
Yep.
Well, no, that's not true because they looked an hour before we did.
Yep.
We bought the property we wanted anyway, so it worked out good. But we were building within weeks. And so, I mean, super nice couple, very quiet. They probably would love me sharing this. But anyway, they move out in the country to retire and have a nice quiet existence. And then some idiot next door moves in with four kids and airplanes.
And tractors. And
They got a tractor too?
they don't drive theirs at midnight.
But they time their mowing sessions for our Saturday morning filming. So it's okay. It's all fair in love and war. Is that what they say? Mm-hmm. I'm glad I got that one.
You're
right.
all about it.
Straw camelbacks.
Yeah.
So anyway, now we're going to start this process, guys. You've been waiting for weeks. Our internet is out. We have 0.01 megabits per second upload speed. So hopefully tomorrow they'll come up, fix that, maybe?
Hopefully.
Because our satellite uplink is not uplinking. It's doing not much of anything. It's just enough to ping Google and suggest that they get out here and fix it. So we'll see how this works. So if you're complaining that it's coming a little bit late, I'm really sorry because this is probably being filmed and I will be painfully uploading it at 0.01 megabits per second. Let me just tell you something. You can't upload at that speed. It just says pending forever and it never does it. So 3 megabits per second, that's pretty good actually if it's reliable. Any other personal issues we need to talk about before we start this?
16 minutes, we should probably start.
16 minutes, that's short. That's like a commercial break for most.
It is.
Okay. So we're gonna get dug into this project right now. As you can see, I'm a little bit reluctant to start this. I'm afraid of commitment, even though I was married at 20 and have four kids, had the same job for 15 years. But I'm afraid of commitment to my airplanes.
You are.
All right, we're gonna stop it and test this. All right, guys, so we just got done reviewing part of the footage and we noticed some crispiness on the camera crew's mic, so we apologize for that. More of that, where that came from, coming shortly. For now, we're gonna go ahead and get dug into this project, which is the radio setup on the Boeing 737 MAX 9. Oh yeah, buddy. We have two things we gotta get worked out. One, there was a clipping noise when the nose gear closed, and we gotta get the radio set up. So we're gonna start by basically opening up this cover. We got one plug that we can undo, but we don't have to. So I'll probably just err on the side of lazy and just lay it off to the side. It's strong enough that when you pick up the plane. Now, the other thing I noticed is in our original build series, I had neglected to hook up one wire. I think it was on this side. It was the white light. It was a strobe on the wingtip. I just forgot to plug it in. So it wasn't broken or anything. You can do that. We ended up having to take the wing off. It was a fiasco. I can't even remember if we filmed that, to be honest.
I don't remember.
I don't think we did.
It was kind of pain.
It was a frustrating experience to take it apart like that. So don't do that and you won't have that problem. The other thing is, I had some people very wisely remind me that on the 737, the nose gear doors stay down when the nose gear's down. Now, I think that this cover is a little bit cartoonishly large compared to what it would be on a real one by a factor of maybe 20 to 30%. So I could be wrong on that. Plus the round cutout for the nose bogey, the nose wheel, is maybe not totally scaled. Not a big deal, definitely not a deal breaker. This thing is beautiful. I'd say it's really well done and it's very light. So, but definitely FAA, drone registry, you gotta put your numbers on there and all that crap. So do whatever fancies ya. I don't wanna tell you what's legal in your area. You might have some other rules. So the first thing you're gonna do if you're using this AR637T is to open this up. Now, if we run into problems with this, just so you guys know, which I don't really understand why we would have problems with it, then we will divert over to the Lemon RX7 channel with stabilization. Okay, so the packaging is the typical Horizon retail packaging here. It's got 2 books in the back, which I assume they publish these online, but I really don't know. All I know is that it was actually a pretty helpful manual. some of these devices, guys, I just say this about Horizon. Horizon, obviously work with Horizon a little bit, just like we work with Banggood, just like we work with Amazon, just like we work with whoever sends us stuff on Hobbies. Horizon has some huge technology built into their stuff, and yet it's sometimes very frustrating to figure out how to use it. I know that others within the hobby community have had that same problem. Part of the issue is that they're expecting hobby shops to be able to help you, and they're big on hobby shop support and all that, and that's all fine and good, unless you have a hobby shop that doesn't know anything about it. So in which case it makes it a little tough, or if you're in a club that maybe doesn't have somebody that knows a lot about the high-tech new stuff and they know a little bit more about the older stuff, or maybe you go to a club that's got a lot of gassers and they don't know anything about the new technology. Well, whatever the case is, that's part of the reason why the YouTube community is so big on setting stuff like this up. Because even though they do document some parts of it, it just kind of gets your feet wet. You don't learn everything about everything. It's like you can't write a manual on teaching somebody to program a computer. You can write a manual on teaching somebody to do the basics, and then you build on that. So I think that's somewhere where Horizon could use a little bit of work, if you're listening, which I doubt you are. Oh wait, they can hear that now. So this also comes with a little cable with, I believe that's a GST Micro PH1S connector. I think that's what that is. So if you were to run another battery, like in an ultra micro, which, I mean, this thing is very light, but I can't see putting it in an ultra micro plane. So I think it's a little bit strange that they include that. Obviously you can put different devices in here. Okay, so I think this one's the X bus. This is volts. So I don't know if I have to actually insert that to get voltage. That would be really crappy if you do, but I don't know. If it does, that's stupid. I don't want that. I want to plug it into my XT60 and then have the BEC energize this. In this case, we have two ESCs. The BEC is disconnected from the line that goes back to the signal on throttle. And then there's, of course, going to be another connection that is where the BEC powers all the lights and powers the receiver. So that's going to be part of the setup today. By the way, you can use a Y cable and you can split off of any channel on any standard receiver, and you can go ahead and power your receiver through the Y cable without consuming a channel. So don't think you have to consume one of the 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is you've got on your receiver in order to use a BEC, which would be a, in this case, I don't know if it's an S-back or a U-back, I can't remember, but that's just an external power supply that's going to convert the 4S voltage down to the 5.5 or 5.1 or 5 or 7.3 or whatever you guys are running your voltage at. By the way, that is a configurable setting on most electronic speed controllers. So if you're using high voltage servos, you can do that, or you can use your standard voltage servos. So like about 5 volts usually. All right, so we have to figure out a way to mount this. It mounts with the pins going back or the pins going forward. It must be true and level, okay? You can mount it at square angles like this or like this. My intentions are to mount it probably something like this, but I need to figure out an approximate location so that we can figure out the CG. Okay, so the CG in the manual showed right between the doors, right? Mm-hmm. So what we need to do is we need to kind of basically stick everything in the hole and just see how it fits and how it feels. And then we will see if it's gonna get CG'd. There is one strap up in here, guys. See this? There's one strap. Again, we're gonna use this 4S 3200 30C Smart Pack. I want the leads going back toward me just because that's gonna be easier to manipulate when I'm getting ready to fly. The cables in here are just kind of all over the place right now. But to be perfectly honest, I don't care. If that's what it takes to get the job done, I'm okay with it. I don't like where that strap is. It just is gonna probably not be real fun to get to it, because you can see what I'm doing here. I'm having to really get in there and get personal with it.
I don't know, I can't reach that far now.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, because of your lapel mic?
No, the
dang
receiver.
it. Okay, so I'm just gonna see if I can, yeah, I know, my camera crew is cringing, I am too. So the other thing too is I have 2200 milliamp 4S packs too that we might try in here if this thing feels a little bit doggy with 3200s. But I believe this is rated for up to 4000. So we'll see how that works. Obviously it has an XT60, but as you know, the IC3 and EC3 connections will go in and plug in just fine. I mean, it's just kind of a little bit harder to plug them in. Yes, you could build an adapter if you wanted. I think I talked about doing that earlier. I just kind of abandoned that. It's a waste of my time. So I'm not gonna do that. So the receiver, it's gonna be of such minimal impact on CG that I'm just gonna kind of keep it out of the plane right now. And we're gonna lay this stuff out of the way. I'm gonna strap that thing in and just manipulate the wires. Actually, I'll just go ahead and plug it in because it's not gonna hurt anything. Because the wires are heavy. Okay, so it's plugged in. I'm just gonna lay that down in there and I'm just gonna stick this lid on just to see how it CGs out right away. Okay, that clips in. It's not magnetic in case you didn't notice. Okay, so typically with center of gravity testing, you test with gear down, okay? So I'm gonna just basically find a point. So it looks like it's right where that box crosses. That's pretty fancy. I don't think they intended that to happen, but that's about where the CG should be.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a detent because I want, it's kind of long. And am I on the mark with?
Yeah,
Okay.
you are.
Okay, so I would suggest that that's a little bit nose heavy right now, and that's okay. We can slide the pack back. We have lots of room to work with. So let's look at this together, guys. So I'm gonna just pull this pack back. Okay, so it looks like about like an inch in front of the pack. What I'm doing here is I'm just establishing approximately where that battery needs to be so that I don't mount the receiver right where the battery needs to be, okay, folks? And I can go this way or this way. I don't know if it matters. I might zip tie the thing in. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use that double-sided tape. Some people like to use Velcro. It gives you a little bit of isolation from vibration if you get an EDF that's out. Although the frequency of oscillation would be very fast on an EDF compared to on a prop plane or a gasser. I don't think these things are really designed for gassers. Okay, camera crew, you're gonna have to help me on this. Oh man, that's awkward. I can't feel. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just a little bit of nose down tendency. Nose heavy tendency. I would much rather run this plane a little bit nose heavy on a maiden anyway, but it looks like we're able to bring this way back, which is super nice actually.
Is it just the one strap? There's only one?
There's only one. Okay. But see, the thing is, like, if that's the only one and we're just right at the front, that's actually okay with me too.
Yeah.
On my Airbus 330-600, I reconfigured the whole inside of that plane. But this is way nicer than that plane. It's got the balsa wood tray and everything, and it just fits better. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make that detent right now because I can't handle doing this. I can't feel it, so we'll pause it for just a sec. All right, folks, so we've got the hot glue gun. This is just a trick. If you haven't already seen me do this a million times, I'd be surprised. But basically, I'm just falling out. And it looks like maybe just a little bit beyond what we were originally talking about. I just make a little bump. Okay. And just kind of, just something you can feel. It doesn't need to be, you know, like a sharp point that you can balance the plane easy on. That would be nice, but that's not necessary. It's just helpful if you can get it. Okay, so I'm going for as even as possible, obviously, here. Okay, so that's literally all that you have to do. It works really nice. It looks like I got that side a little bit bigger.
A little bigger, yeah.
Might do a little bit more on this side. I like to make them even. Because then when you flip a plane over that's got nacelles, the nacelles oftentimes kind of make it hard to get your hands in by the inboard portion of the wing. So it's just a little bit awkward. So we'll set that to the side. And then we'll let that set up for just a second. Still needs to cool just a little teeny bit. Okay, so they're set up. So now I can get in here and it's easier to verify the center of gravity. Feels like it needs to come back yet a little bit more. Okay. And the receiver is going to go behind the battery. So we'll just slide that. Oh, geez. Did we just come out?
Spot, yeah.
That's not good. So I guess at this point, we may need to move that strap back or reconfigure these wires a little bit so that the weight of the wires is forced back. We can also put tail weight in, but not a big believer in having tail weight. If I want it to be, if I want more weight, I'm gonna try to shift the battery because I want my weight to not be dead weight. Batteries are not dead weight. Come on now. See, because you can imagine this is not gonna be very fun to load this battery in when you're out at the flight field. In fact, I'm gonna get my hemostats. Forceps.
Is that strap just around that balsa tray?
Yeah.
So you could move it if you...
Yeah, but then there's foam back there. I think part of it is that if you ran a 2200, then you would be a little bit further forward. But even still, like that's just way too far forward, guys, if you ask me. Unless I'm missing something. This is awkward. If you guys have ever done this, you know exactly what I'm going through right now. Trying to get the plane close enough to work on without breaking something.
Yes.
When they're assembled, it's always trickier. So I've always kind of thought it would make better sense to put the radio system in halfway, but it doesn't usually work out that easy because you got to know exactly where everything's going to line up. Okay, so I have it in there now. The other thing is where all these wires exit that tray is just crappy. Like it's just not a good spot. I'm gonna have to do some cable management to kind of tie those together, get them under control and tamed. I could also put Velcro there and it would be satisfactory. Okay, let's see if we got enough now. Ooh, that feels... Gosh, I have to say that's pretty darn close if it's not right. I just don't see it being...
Is it good enough, like for a starting point?
Yeah, maybe. Gosh. I think you're right though. I think we have to move that strap. I think we have to. So let's do that real quick. I don't think we're gonna pause it. We're gonna show the people how ridiculous this is. Because maybe there's an easier time for you guys to do it at home. If you are building this plane, you're gonna wanna know about this sort of thing, I guess. Oh man, I'm so reluctant to pull this out because once it's out, it's gonna be a pain to get it back in. I did it. So these wires here are the wires that I'm concerned about, okay? So we've got this sequencer for the landing gear here, the landing gear doors, and we could move that back too, and that would help a little bit with, you know, with just kind of getting the weight back there. I'm just gonna actually peel off. Why don't you come over to the other side and see if you can get an angle of where I'm peeling. See? Guys, I'm just pulling the Velcro off. And this is probably never gonna be quite right again, but that's okay. Good enough for what I'm doing. Okay, so you see I'm just sticking that down there. So I pulled it from here and now it's here. So that'll move the center of gravity back just a hair. Then the other thing too, in terms of cable management, is we can throw zip ties around this wiring, but I'm gonna try to zip tie as little as possible until I'm 100% certain of the way everything is gonna sit, for a variety of reasons. Okay, and you'll notice that that little zip tie we put on this the other day when we were building this has already kind of slipped, but mostly because I didn't go like real crazy on it. I didn't want to crush that BEC, the electronics within. Okay. All right, so we'll just get a little bit more aggressive with that right now, actually. We'll grab this with the forceps and just twist that out a little bit. Okay, so that's holding a lot tighter now. The other thing is like these wires are the wires, of course, that are gonna go to the receiver. So we need to have those accessible still. And then we can tuck everything else down. And I'm just trying to think, would it make better sense to try to force all this stuff down? And then, see, we've got this weight over here. We're not gonna have, this is heavier. So that kind of needs to be somewhat central if possible. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing back through. This is gonna be a nightmare. I'm not looking forward to this step at all. So we want it to be like this. So the Velcro is gonna go down and under. Anybody who's ever done this knows exactly why I'm concerned now, because it's always a lot harder than it looks to do this step, because you got to try to get up under that, and it never seems to go the way you want. I'm going to grab a flat screwdriver. I don't want to cut the foam out. I want the foam to still be intact. I just want the foam to get out of the way a little bit. So you see, I'm going to try to feed it under here. I wonder if that noise we were getting from the intro camera crew was coming from our mics being too close together. I guess we'll find out, huh?
That probably would not be good.
Yeah, because there's some times when we're pretty close together when we're filming. Okay, so I'm just gonna slide this through. See, I got that opening there because I think they just glued on the bottom of it is what they did. But see, that's where the wing comes in, so we got to be a little bit careful about that. Okay, double checking. That's the way that's going to go. I think I'm going to tape over it. If I tape over it, then I can use the tape to pull it through. That should give us a little bit better shot. And you'll notice the tape is almost out, so I'm fully expecting it to run out while we're filming.
Yep.
Okay, so this is just going to cover over some of that roughness, then give us something to hang on to, like that. That worked great. Okay, we'll pause it. All right, more tape. So we'll see. This is just a packing tape, and we just ran it long. So just to verify, yep, the fluffy side is going to go down. I've only done that verification like 20 times. That's okay. Do it as many times as it takes. Okay, so the way the factory had it was right in this cavity here, which is about the right width for what we're doing here. If we end up with like a huge battery at some point, that might kind of screw us up, but gosh, this is awkward. Ooh, did you hear that noise? It sounded like cracking wood. I don't like that noise when I'm doing a build. So I'm gonna just try to stuff this under. I'm not seeing it go. Okay, we're gonna pause it. This is gonna be frustrating and there'll be a lot of swearing, so I gotta stop the video for a few minutes. All right, show them inside here. I fed it with this long piece of tape down into the bigger hole. I use a screwdriver to point that back to the top, and I'm not to the correct hole yet, so I just gotta get that pulled over. Now I'm gonna grab with the forceps and pull it out some, okay? See, because there's this void here. You can chase it through there. And then I gotta get under to the next one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull some of the slack out, make sure we're not gonna lose this. Okay, this is gonna be really frustrating if that pops off of there now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've got that kind of pulled through, but I gotta get under one more layer to get to this hole. That's the hole I wanna be on. So I'm gonna just take this. I'll just kind of show you guys how I did this. This is really a pain in the neck, but it's doable. So I'm gonna kind of carry this back down, and then you see how it went through. We got lucky that time. You always have to have 2 pairs of forceps here. Of course, I'm filming clear things up against white foam inside of a cavity. I think it would have been easier to film like a brain surgery. Yeah, of course. Okay, so we're gonna pull that and just get that to pop through. Okay, so it's through now. So now the big important step is coming, and that's gonna be where I get this to not pull off the tape, okay? So yeah, I'm not really confident about this. I'm gonna use this like floss to release any little teeny bit of glue that may or may not be present. I'm sorry.
They'll have to use their imaginations.
Well, why don't you, yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm really, really hopeful that this is not going to get ripped off because I can hold it as I guide it in. Oh, I knew this was going to suck so bad as soon as I saw that problem. Go in there. Go in there. Oh, buddy. What was that noise?
I don't know.
Don't you dare rip balsa wood thing or whatever you are. Plywood-ish stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Look. See? Look. 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 Get under there. Get under there. Get under there. Get under there. Okay. You guys see what's happening? Mm-hmm. It hasn't slipped off yet, but I bet it's going to try at some point. These are the types of things that just irritate the heck out of you when you're building a model airplane. 'Cause you're like, why didn't they just do this at the factory? Jeez. Hey, look at that, it's a boy. Yay. Okay, so pause for a second. Story time, Brian's story time. So do you ever think about your homeowner's insurance and you think, when my house burns down, do you suppose my agent is going to get me coverage for that? To redo that step?
Really? That's what you worry about at night?
Yes. I think of all the millions of things I've stuck in weird holes. And I think I have to do that again to get back to where I am today.
You sleep really good for somebody that has that.
No. Okay, so look. There it is. Yay, wow, oh wow, that was amazing. So the first hour of the radio setup done. Okay, all joking aside, that was a humongous pain in the butt. I'm glad that it's over. And I don't ever want to do it again. Unless I can get another plane like this, and then I'll do it again gladly. All right, now let's stuff the battery in there and see if we get the CG right. The whole purpose of that was to slide the battery back a little bit. And as you can see, if the camera crew would make it so that you can, this strap will now allow us to, with relative ease, oh, for God's sake, more snide remarks that would normally not be picked up by lapel mics, coming through loud and clear on your desktop so that your children can hear. You're welcome. Okay. All right, stuff this in the hole. Easy as that, guys.
See?
5-minute process.
Yeah.
In fast forward 1,000 times. Now we check the CG. Thing that's nice about this plane is, you know, you're not going to be doing a bunch of inverted flight unless you're really cool. Okay. Ooh, oh yeah, we're tail heavy now. Great. So I can actually get it past the point of no return and beyond. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I did this in the build video, and that was a wise maneuver. Okay, I learned. And then these edges just get beat to heck. It's like when your concrete guy says, Brian, you can't pour a sharp angle like this. It's gonna get broken off. And you're like, can you really not? No, okay, do a blunt tip. That's the way conversations with concrete guys go.
Is that before or after they don't show up? 27
Whatever. Our concrete guy showed up just fine.
He did a good job.
He did a good job. He might be watching. Shh, lapel mics. Okay, so that's close. I would say that it's really close. Like probably that's pretty much centered, I would say.
On one of your planes, didn't you tape around the edges?
Yeah, I did. That was really dumb.
Oh.
No, it was not a bad idea. It's just that these edges have a tendency to get worn down as you're working on this. So, all right, I'm gonna mark it like we normally do. I mark stuff, and I do this reluctantly because you don't know for sure if you're marking it correct at this stage of the game, because you may need to fine tune it. So I'm just gonna mark this line here, okay? And I'm not gonna mark the front because I can't see the front. I can barely see that. I'm just gonna say 3200 4S.
Why is your tape on the counter?
3200 4S. Wires that way, okay? So that's my really simple note. And obviously the plywood kind of sucks in and makes the ink look sloppy, but that's okay. I don't care. That's good enough for what we're gonna do for this plane. Now, you can see where all the wires are. So the next step is to mount the receiver. Technically, you could actually mount the receiver on the lid if you wanted to. I'm not saying you should. The problem you would have is that your wires would be really fairly tight. I mean, yeah, you probably can't reach the lid. That would be kind of convenient though if you could do that. If you never had to put a battery in again, you could do that. Okay, so now what we've got is we've got all these wires and they are numbered, okay? So technically they are labeled from the factory. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to immediately, I'm probably gonna bind the receiver as soon as I get it powered up, which is not what you're supposed to do, just so I can test the control surfaces. I'll just set it up like a standard acro. I'm sort of torn if I wanna go ahead and try to do flap-arounds on this plane. I probably will never do flap-arounds on this plane just because I did not have good experience with the Airbus A320, which would have been similar to this plane. They had a lot smaller ailerons. So, and just flap-arounds are just a joke in my opinion, especially on an outboard aileron. They just don't work well. Spoiler-arounds work okay, but flap-arounds, no, they don't really slow the plane down. They just hamper your ability to control a plane. If you have a full-length aileron, they work a lot better. So that being, in my experience. The other thing too is with this narrow wing, you're gonna always be on the tendency to tip stall. And at some point I intend to probably cut flaps onto this thing. So we're just gonna play it by ear on that. Obviously we'll have AS3X and we could potentially set up safe on this too. So, but for now, I'm gonna go ahead and just start plugging stuff in. We have our radio not really set up yet. So let's go ahead and get ready to do that now that we have the center of gravity worked out. The only problem I've kind of got right at this exact second is I don't know exactly where. I could put the receiver on the side there, which might work out okay because we have enough length. We could put it over here maybe, which would get us in here. That would probably work, and then it would stay out of the way. We'd be able to reach the bind plug. I believe we can run it sideways. Obviously, I'm not going to put it on top of the battery. That would be stupid. There's just so much crap going on here. If I decide to hold these wires forward, we could try to put it right here, but it just makes me nervous being like right next to the opening. I suppose that probably would be okay though. We just don't have much to mount to here, guys. See this? If we mount that there, I do want it centered. That's pretty close to the center of gravity. It doesn't have to be on the exact center of gravity, but it does tend to help the stabilizer work a little bit better, in my opinion. What do you think, camera crew?
Well, if you do it right there, you know you're gonna have enough length on your wires that are plugging into it.
Yeah, that's totally true. But then when you get the battery out, you gotta kind of slide it out into that position. And that's why it's like, if I write it back here, is that gonna be so far that the wires need then extended?
Yeah,
I don't
this would
know.
be a pain.
Let's just try doing this. Let's try firing it up. First of all, I'm gonna make a model, okay? So this is kind of the catch-22 spot where you get into. When you're setting these things up, you gotta figure out a way to, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Okay, throttle cut would be on if there was a throttle cut. And hold on, I don't know what model's in here, so cast your gaze.
Avert your eyes.
Actually, that'll be published by the time anyway. So add new model. We're gonna create a new acro. Did I already create one? Yeah, this is 78, it's a new one. So this is gonna be the Boeing, so we'll go ahead and name it first. So if you wanna pause it while I scroll this in. All right, folks, so we got the Boeing 737 MAX 9. The aircraft type is going to be, right now, it's going to be normal, but at some point it's going to be one aileron and one flap. Dang it. At some point it might need to be two ailerons and one flap, because at some point I might run those as spoilerons, which technically then that becomes a flaperon configuration. Because if I ever set this up like I did the 737, the Airbus A380, I have spoilers and I have flaps. And so I used flaperons for the configuration on the ailerons, and then I use flaps as just another channel.
Can you change the aircraft type later?
Yeah, I can, but I'm going to make it one aileron and one flap for now, and then the tail type normal. Ah, dang it. Okay, let's see if we can change this to something better. I'm sure there's nothing better. Nope, nothing better. Lots worse. Definitely not that. Not working. Definitely. Okay, there we go. F mode. Whatever way you can get it. Okay, so we have to do some more stuff to that later, and we're going to come back to that. So this is just going to be as a means to bind. Okay, we're going to set up throttle cut. Throttle cut is going to be set to switch H. I don't want negative 130, I want negative 100. It's an electric plane. Let's verify on, off. Okay, so the throttle's moving. Okay, so that's set. Then we're going to set the timer. Of course, they don't really tell us these things, so I'm going to set it to like 3 minutes for the beginning. We're going to run one time out. Since this is an EDF, we'll be on the throttle most of the time. Okay, so that'll start the timer when you go over 25%. When you go over 25% instantly, they'll also start the AS3X, but safe will be active all the time if we do safe. I'm not sure if I'm going to do safe. Obviously, these are retracts, so we do need those to be active. At some point, the retracts may try to collapse. While we're working on the plane, that is always a bummer. So because I'm not 100% sure which direction that goes, I need to be a little bit concerned about that. So we'll worry about that as soon as we get the first opportunity. So the next thing we got to do is we're going to turn the radio system off. By default, these AR 637Ts go into bind mode because they're not bound to anything yet. So we're going to just guess and check, because I don't want to go get the manual, even though it's on the floor on the stairway. So it looks like you can see it's labeled here. It says S plus and minus. So minus is down. So the minus is black in this case. Let's just see if we get lucky. Should be channel 1 would be typically throttle. Okay, so that, there you go. Then we have, this must be channel 3. Actually, channel 3 is probably throttle, I'm guessing. Okay, we'll pause it. We'll get the manual. Okay, so there's the center of gravity between the doors. And then this is the receiver setup. So ailerons is 1, elevator is 2, throttle's 3. I should have known because throttle has the red line pulled out. That's on a Futaba setup, but I believe throttle, what channel? Well, we can just look at this. We just won't turn it on. We won't plug the battery in. We unplug the battery. So I'm just going to go over to monitor. You can see throttle is channel 1, then ailerons is channel 2. So according to them, 1 is ailerons. So on mine, 2 is ailerons. So I'm going to plug into channel 2, which is the third set of pins on this receiver. Okay. White comes up, black goes down. Okay, then throttle on mine is 1, so I need 3. Black goes down, white goes up. You'll notice there's no red wire, so we're not receiving our power on that port, on that channel, if you will. All right, so this one's channel 2, or that's N, which N stands for, what the heck is N? Is that like power? Maybe that's power. That's probably from the navigation. I don't know. 2 is elevator.
Yours is 3.
Yours is 3. So 2 goes to 3. Guys, this is just a difference between Spectrum and Futaba. It's not right or wrong. It's just kind of the way it is. Okay. So then there's this one, which is 5. 5 is retractable landing gear. Okay. So 5 is going to be here. And then there's one more controllable thing. Oh, that's probably nav lights. I wonder, gosh, what is that?
Do you have a rudder?
Yeah, but why would N be a rudder? I don't see rudder. Yeah. Is that what you're getting at? Yeah, that one looks like it goes back. I think they might have just mislabeled that. So rudder is supposed to be on channel 4. Dang it. I accidentally plugged channel 5 into channel 4. Channel 5 evidently is the same.
Gear. Yeah, it's 5.
Okay. So these are the types of things that in the model community, kind of people that design these models take for granted that everybody knows what channel is what. You do sort of figure out what people expect the channels to be, but I just tell me. I don't want to guess. All right, so this is a little bit weird because I don't know where we're pulling power from, so we'll see if this works. I don't know if it's going to awake. Now, the other thing you got to remember is that this is an AAir637T, which means when it's laid flat on its first bind, that's learning its home position. So you do have to have that positioned correctly, I believe. What I want to do is I want to probably put it there, okay? Give them a better view so that they're square. Do you see? That's going to bridge the gap, but it's just barely long enough. So we were debating about this off camera here a minute ago, and I think I'm going to take 2 of these. I'm going to stick one on each side, and then that's just going to, we'll see if that holds it good enough. It may not. If that doesn't hold it good enough, we're going to use a small piece of wood or plastic to go between those two, and then this will isolate the vibration on either side. But as you can see, it's quite a bit wider, so I'll probably go ahead and just cut it wider for extra.
Can I ask a question while you're cutting?
Yeah.
Do the lights plug into the receiver anywhere?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember if that's already tied up here. I'm pretty sure it does. Look, it's already hooked up. See, that's channel 5 because that's part of the gear sequencer.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Well.
You mean for like the nav lights that turn on when you land? The landing lights?
Or does that all go through the BEC or the
No, it's all through the controller for the landing gear. But honestly, I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
I mean, we're going to find out in 30 seconds. That's why I'm not really worried too much about it.
okay.
This is a little bit of an awkward experience here because I have to pull the backing off of both sides before I can stick it down to the... See this? The white side comes off super easy. The green side comes off super hard.
Do you need help?
No. No, I don't. And this may not be the final configuration, so luckily this stuff does actually come off with relative ease. I mean, I'm not saying I want to sit there and pick it off all day. That would be no fun, but. All right, so we'll see if we can get this. You guys kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm just bridging the gap. That's all I'm doing. And if this doesn't work well, we'll come up with a better solution. It is a little bit behind the CG now, but that's okay. I'd prefer to have it right at the center of gravity. But I've been told numerous times by different people that do a lot of these complex setups that it doesn't really make a big difference. You're still measuring the yaw, pitch, and roll. You just have to change your gains accordingly. See, this is where it gets to be a little bit frustrating. This green stuff is always harder to get off of here. Magically, they came off. The camera crew was very gracious to everybody by pausing. Okay, so those antennae want to go down like this, and then I'm just going to bridge that gap. Okay? So remember, this doesn't need to be, it's not like this is going to get jarred around like the battery's going to be running into it unless I do something really stupid, which then it might. But you can see I've got that somewhat centered. Oh, dang it, I didn't quite get it centered, did I? I think I've got it centered now. Do I? Here, let's try this. I know your camera crew is attached. You're attached. Okay, guys. Looks like it's not quite square. So we're gonna try to square that up just a little bit. Luckily, it comes off the bottom of the plastic really easy, which doesn't necessarily bode for the long-term well-being of the aircraft. But what we'll do is when we're all done and we're settled, we'll probably just put a bead of hot glue and just be done with it. I mean, we got to make sure it's in the right spot. So remember, these are diversity antennas. One's going to go vertical, one's going to go horizontal, or vice versa. One's going to go forward and one's going to go side to side. Okay, 90 degrees of one another. Okay, so when I say 90 degrees of one another, I'm going to stick one in there and I'm going to stick one in here. And they're going to kind of go wherever they go for now. That's fine. All right, so we have our plane ready to plug in. This could be wrong. The landing gear might retract, but I don't believe they will. If that happens, I want to be prepared. So we're going to take a second and clean all this junk up so it's out of the way. All right, so now we're going to go into the binding mode. When I plug this in, normally you'd have to press that button there to do your binding process. I'm not going to press the button because we don't have to. Okay, we're going to plug this in because it's a virgin setup. It's going to go straight into binding mode. Okay, so I don't see any lights on, which is not completely unexpected, and here's why. Because I don't think we're actually pulling power to it yet. So let me try this first. I don't think this is going to work, so we're just going to try it. Maybe the light's in the wrong spot. So I don't believe it's going to bind. So bind failed. That doesn't surprise me. So I shut the transmitter back off. Now we need to figure out where we evidently lost one of the wires that comes from the BEC. Or is the BEC going to the lights right now? I think right now the BEC is going to the lights. And it needs to be going to the receiver. So when I find this, we'll go ahead and come out and show you guys where it goes. Okay, so I think I know what's going on here. We actually have power coming out of this little BEC. It's stealing power from the battery, just like it's going to each ESC, okay? And then after it comes out of there, it goes down to the lighting controller, okay? It doesn't go to the receiver. So I assume that there'd be some channel back from there to here, but I'm not seeing it yet. So it's possible maybe it dropped back in and we just haven't found it yet, but hopefully this will get us set up. So what I do is I stole one connection from one of the ESCs through a regular Y cable, and that regular Y cable is going to plug in to the throttle channel, okay? So I'm just gonna disconnect this Y cable that has the red wire detached, which was channel 3 on the Futaba setup. I'm going to plug this in. So now when I power up the plane, one of the ESCs is going to energize my receiver with the integral BEC. So we have the transmitter off. We're not binding yet. We're going to see this thing start flickering and come to life here in just a second. This is where we got to be a little bit careful because the gear could collapse on us. Yeah. I don't know if you can see if there's any power getting into it. That's weird. I don't think we have power getting to it yet. Bind failed.
It usually
Normally it would flash because this is coming from the ESC. Okay, so we should be getting power into there through whatever port it is. So I'm just double checking my wiring. We've got white, orange, white, white, orange going up. Okay, so we'll try from the other ESC. Okay, so currently this little splitter is totally detached from the circuit. We'll just plug this one in. We're color for color on that one. Okay, and we still don't have any signs of life unless there's a light that I just can't see, but usually it's pretty easy to see. So again, we're going to try this. It's not going to do anything, but just to be on the safe side. Bind failed. Okay, so that doesn't surprise me because I don't believe we have power to this thing yet. Let's try pressing the button once. Oh, it's awake now. Okay. Do we have to wake it up? I didn't know that. That's not what the manual suggested. Okay, so we're gonna go live now. Binding, DSMX, 22 milliseconds, telemetry. And that's what I was afraid of, so. The gear door opened because I flipped the jumper from one set, which was the closed doors, to the open doors. So now we have, just to be careful, elevators backward but hooked up. Ailerons, they're backward but hooked up. And rudder is backward but hooked up. How do we manage to get all three backward? And then the steerable nose gear is not steerable right now. I don't know why, probably because we have something hooked up wrong. So I haven't tested the throttle yet, but now that we know what we did wrong, I'm gonna go ahead and put that other wire back in. So if you wanna show the people at home what we're doing here. So at this point, I'll just de-energize the circuit. We're already bound. Okay, and I have a habit of shutting off my radio system on the first initial bind. That's more of a safeguard than anything. Okay, turn it back on. Remember, don't worry about safe select or any of that stuff yet. Just get it bound so that you can control things. Okay, so it's on. Throttle cut's on. We're gonna unplug this Y cable that goes to the ESCs, which means you're gonna not have any power, hypothetically going to that, but that's not correct because we're getting our power from the BEC. So this thing should come to life when I plug this in, but there just won't be any throttle response. See, this is gonna answer a question for us. See, when I press the button, nothing happens. Okay. So that tells me that one of these two ESCs is hooked up and the other one is not. So when I put this little wire back in, it's probably not going to come to life. And that's okay. I just want to know what's going on. And some of you guys are probably thinking, oh, see, that's what happens when you get that cheap stuff. Should get the AL37. Whatever, guys, the AL37, they're all made in China. Are you kidding me? By the way, I do want the AL37. And it does look awesome. Ooh, see that wire? That wire looked like it was slipped back. Did you see that? Okay, so that's plugged in. Now we just are going to attempt to plug this one into the receiver, which should, if all goes to plan, might make it come to life. I doubt it because there's no power coming through it. Okay. So as expected, no change in state. We are currently plugged into the nothing. Okay, we're gonna wait for a second and we're not gonna expect any change in state. So what that tells us is we're not getting power from our BEC, okay? So what that tells me is that I'm gonna be just undoing this and then undoing this and then undoing this, and I'm going to get power for myself from the ESCs. Now, if you're concerned about pulling power from two different sources, there's a very easy way to do it. Pick one or the other, and typically you would do this with the circuit off, so you're gonna unplug your power if you're plugged in still. You're gonna take the lead that is marked as red on one or the other. Then you're only using power from the one. And you're basically gonna try to do this without stabbing yourself. And you're gonna grab this red wire and just yank it back. Okay. Just carefully get in there. It's kind of somewhat challenging to get in there, guys. There you go. Not quite there. All you're doing is just getting in there to lift this tab up and try not to stab yourself. So annoying sometimes. Okay, I'm gonna go sideways with the blade. And it broke the tab, so hopefully we don't need that back. Okay, so now that is gonna be live with voltage. So you want to, where did that little tape thing go?
The tape dispenser?
Yeah.
I think you put it away. Let me pause.
Okay. So I just want to cover that thing up now temporarily so that we don't short out the circuit somewhere else. So that means one of my ESCs is no longer going to be providing power to the receiver, acting as a BEC for the circuit, okay? So there's that, so that's covered up so it can't short out something else easily. If the tape slides, it can. So now you're saying, well, why do you do that, Brian? Well, the reason we do that is because there's, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's like a big argument in the RC world, but if you have two power supplies, they might fight over reference and screw up the reference for signal ground and all that, and then your pulse width modulation might get out of snuff. I've never had it happen.
Totally what I was gonna say.
Yep. Get out of there. Okay, so we got that. Now we got this. Now we plug it in. Now the receiver's on. Okay. Good. Okay, so elevator's backward but working. Ailerons are backward but working. Rudder is probably also backward but working. And I'm okay with it because at this point we technically have the plane in a condition that we could start setup, radio setup. I know, I can't look who is laughing out of pain and suffering reasons. So now the other thing we got to do, obviously that's why we had our knife and that's why we had some zip ties because we were going to have to cut zip ties to get this out of here. I'm just going to cut this out because if it's not the configuration we're going to use, I'll take it out for now. I can always put it back in fairly easy. Okay, and then we're going to tidy up these wires just a little bit. I've had a few guys say they like watching this step. I'm not sure if it's just like, you know, it's fun to watch somebody else suffer or, you know, that sort of thing. But I kind of hate doing cable management, but I want it to be done, so I'm going to do it.
So this is the finished, like with the Y cable and the.
Hypothetically.
This is the way it's going to be.
I don't know. Depends on if it works or not. There's a couple things that I can't really test yet, but I need this crap to be contained so that I can work in here without causing everything to blow up in a million pieces.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Huh. It always seems that my forceps are on the other side of the room when I need them on this side of the room. I don't know if you guys have that problem, but I do. All right, let's see if we can get this Y cable to be tucked into this bundle of joy. I don't know if you guys have ever had somebody film you doing something like this. It's not really frustrating at all to have your light blocked constantly. It's just a joy.
I'm trying to chalk your wheels too.
Well, that's good. Okay, so we're just going to try to pull this through. And once we get this through, we kind of have this big fat bundle of wire, and it doesn't need to be any more particular than that for the moment. It just needs to kind of be tied so that we can possibly at some point renegotiate that to tuck it down in. So for now, we're going to grin and bear it as imperfect as it is. It's going to be good enough for what we're doing today. All right, so we're basically at the point now where we've got the control surfaces working. That actually is the correct direction. That's gonna roll us, that's gonna roll us. The elevator's backward and the rudder is backward. So we're gonna go in and basically this is the manual that comes, there's two manuals that come with that little receiver and the AR637T. So this is the very first page, and it says, set it up as though you're setting up a plane without AS3X. So you're gonna go in and I'm gonna change my rudder. So that goes the correct way now. That's gonna move the nose the right way. It's gonna move the, okay. And then we're going to switch the ailerons are right, elevator, okay? Elevator goes up, elevator goes down. Elevator goes up, elevator goes down. Roll, roll, rudder, rudder, okay? So our nose gear is not steering right now. So that's the other thing we need to figure out. So before we go any further, let's figure that out, because this is a radio setup, but if you don't have steerable nose gear, that's kind of a big deal. On any plane, it's a lot harder to fly a plane without a steerable nose gear. You can do it, but I don't like doing it. Okay, so steerable nose gear, if you give them a shot from over here, you might actually see something that's happening. Okay, so here is a control line that goes up to the front. So that's probably going to control the gear door, and this is probably going to control the retract. But I could be mistaken. I only see 2 wires right now. So what we need to do next is we need to check the landing gear retracts, because that's going to tell us if we're hooked up or not. Okay, because we're going to use the process of elimination to figure this out. Because I'm lifting it. Okay, so now they're down. Now they're up. Oh, that looks so sweet. Now they're down. See, now I can start figuring out what that noise is too. Okay, so it doesn't look like, you see up in there, there's like a foam thing up there. Let's grab if we can figure that out right now, that'd be kind of nice, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. So let's grab the forceps.
The bent ones or the straight ones?
The bent ones, unless I otherwise specify, would probably be what I would need. Okay, so I'm just gonna, maybe I can lay this down. Yeah. Okay, so I've got the gear deployed or out, and there's this like chunk of something right here. It's just like a piece of foam, it looks like. Kind of doubt it's going to cause a problem, but I think what's happening is this is the steerable nose gear, okay? That's the way that would normally work. Okay, so when I actuate this, I think it's hitting that piece of plywood. See, it didn't pop. Oh, I didn't wait for the gear door. Mm-hmm. So it's actually the gear door hitting something?
Yeah.
Ugh. Oh, it's catching on itself.
That linkage?
Yeah, that linkage is catching. So if we switch that linkage to the other side, that might resolve that conflict. Mm-hmm. That would be wise to do. So we'll do that. But then why are we not getting steerable nose gear, which should be hooked up to the rudder? Oh man, I do not want to have to take this wing back off.
I know.
I didn't see it in there. Whatever was causing that conflict. I do love the way it looks with the gear up and down on this plane. Okay, so from inside, there is no connection on this to the steerable nose gear, because it's going to be a rudder connection is what it's going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift this bundle of joy, and I'm actually going to kind of pull the plane toward me. I'm sorry, camera crew. You have to probably get a little bit creative there. So here's see all these connection points? Probably what's happened is one of them just came yanked out a little bit. Ooh. Ooh, that might be it. No. That was an A, so it's probably for aileron. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking to see if there's any wires that go up under the battery. So I'm going to pull the battery out so it can kind of just be resting out of the way. As you can see, I got plenty of room to pull it out actually. That's a big relief actually. We'll just set that off to the side. So now when we look up there, gosh, I didn't. Oh, there's a third wire that's red, white, and black. And it looks like it's right here. See this? Like, is that molded in there? I literally can't. Sorry, I just hit my mic big time. I can see it. See that red, white, and black one? Oh, I can't fit the phone in. Here.
That was awkward, sorry.
So I can't quite tell if that's attached to nothing or if it's just attached to one of these other wires, which is possible. Because the sequencer has to control the gear door and the retract. But it's entirely possible that there's a wire that we just haven't hooked up, which would be bad. Mm-hmm. So what I have to do is I have to figure out where that's hooked up and then get that resolved. I think I can maybe unplug, I'm gonna unplug this lid. Can't maybe, I can for sure do that. Just to get that out of the way for now, because I'm gonna have to have this opened. It's the rigors of putting together a plug and fly plane, guys. I'm just looking down. Okay, so I can see that red and black and white, I'm wiggling it, and I can see where it goes, sort of, but not totally. And I'm just wondering if there's a lead that just needs to fall down to the back of the plane for which to grab and plug in. Because there's, you guys see that? Do you hear anything? I want to see if that wire drops down for me. Oh, buddy, it did. It did drop down. You see? There it is. I just don't know if that's right or not. Can you see it, camera crew?
Well, I can see from here.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's hard enough to do this stuff, let alone film it, you know?
Yep.
Oh, looky, 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 guys.
Ah.
Never got hooked up.
Hey, N. Weren't we looking for an N?
N, we were
earlier?
looking for an N. That's pretty good stuff.
Nose.
Nose
Hey.
gear. N for nose gear. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so now that we have this wire to also be in the way, we're going to run this over to the side. You're going to have to probably go around, I'm sorry. Otherwise, you won't be able to see much of anything. Guys, this is why you do testing on the ground. Can you imagine how much of a mess that would be if you...
Goodness.
So channel 4 is the rudder? What?
Yes. 5 was gear, 4 was rudder.
Yeah, channel 1, 2, 3, 4. Just looking at the radio. Yep, so N for nose gear. We are gonna definitely have to cut that zip tie now. So we're not gonna pause it. We're gonna let you guys watch the pain and suffering. Because misery loves company. Hopefully there's more
Still
than 50,
2 or 3 people watching.
50 views on this video. It's all right, well, at least they watched the ads already.
Yes. True.
Or skipped, probably, more than likely. All right. All right, here we go, guys. So this is gonna be brown to black in this case. And then this says channel 4, which is nice. Oh, there we go, got it. Okay, that was pretty hard to ram in there. All right, so now I'm gonna just double this back onto itself for cable management. All right, sorry, we had our camera ran out of memory. So we had to switch for a second and we're back. So we were just getting ready to tie up this Y cable. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie up this gigantic now bundle of joy. My experience has been in the past, the best thing to do is just grin and bear it, get it around all the wires, and then start the zip tie like that. Once you've started it, then you can start renegotiating the wires into their proper locations like this. Because you want to grab onto the, you know, like the whitest part so that it hangs onto it properly. Sorry guys, you're not going to be able to see because I can't see either. Sorry, camera crew. Do you have that endoscope still? From that procedure we did? No, you don't.
What procedures are you doing? It's a different YouTube channel.
That endoscope thing was nice though.
Did we ever use that for anything?
I've used
actually?
it. I used it once or twice. so far. I mean, it's like the infomercial it's very good. But the thing is, like, when you could actually use it, it's kind of like, this is a little awkward. It's like, maybe I should just pay the proctologist. You're welcome for that.
Thanks.
It's kind of.
At least I haven't eaten lunch yet.
Oh, don't you worry. There's more where that came from. Okay, so we got that wire plugged in. This bundle of joy looks horrible, and I don't quite have enough to get it doubled back into this loop. So, unfortunately, that's just gonna have to be the way it is. That sucks. Sorry guys, to let you down. I just don't see why we didn't do a lapel mic like thousands of videos ago.
I know.
Because it's been so convenient.
You're so mean.
They're just $25. I had somebody tell me that the other day. Yeah, not so much.
Maybe if you don't hook it up to anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe if you're hooked up to the old VHS camcorder, then they probably are. Do you remember the one we found at Banggood that had the it was like the big mic jack? I'm like, who's using that?
Yes.
That was awesome. I almost bought it just to show people how awesome it worked. But I didn't want to get that garbage bag on my front steps.
No,
So we decided against it.
Yep.
It was an executive decision. So I'm going to tie this while I'm at tie-in. Okay. So you see this? No, you can see it from the other side better.
I don't think so.
You got to raise the camera up there.
I'm attached to the camera now is the problem.
Oh, I didn't think the lapel mic was going to cause any problems.
None whatsoever.
None.
Not
Ooh,
awkward at
shoot.
all.
Maybe I should have gone around.
Ooh.
Show the people at home what's going on over there. Wow. Any takers? Who's going to win? Oh, it's the one on top. These kittens are hilarious.
Crazy.
About midnight, they decide, it's time to get up and have a
Run laps.
giant wrestling session,
Yes.
which is a popular time to do things like that, I suppose.
That's when I always do my cardio. No. Is that what they call it?
That's a misstep, camera crew.
No,
No,
it's a misstep. It's
but
your giant hands.
no, the kitties, they get really excited about bedtime. They're like, it's time to just really come alive and start attacking each other. And we have one male and two females. Mm-hmm. And what did we name the male?
Pouncer.
Pouncer. And it's because he pounces on all the others. But they do the same back. It's like a mutual agreement that if you scratch my face, I'll scratch your face. So it works pretty good. They seem to get along well. I mean, they are brothers and sisters. So I think they might have had one more brother, but that guy was too hard to catch.
You left a kitty behind?
It was a bigger kitty.
Oh.
It was a different breed. Like these were one batch.
Yeah.
Because they evidently had a tomcat at this place. I went to a tractor place, and they had a sign on the door next to the piles of, old donuts and things. It's a really cleaned up place. And they said, if you can catch them, you can keep them. And they're serious about it because they have like about 30 cats there. And, they don't listen to Bob Barker at all. Mm-mm. They did not spay or neuter their pets. And incidentally, we didn't either, but that's because we probably want to replace them because they're going to be farm cats and they might need replacing. So, oh, good, I didn't break it. That's what I get for making Bob Barker jokes.
I know.
God rest his
See?
soul. Wait, Bob Barker's still alive, isn't he?
No,
Is he dead?
he's dead.
When did he die?
Didn't he? I don't know. That's why Drew
I
Carey
don't-
took over, right?
I don't think Bob Barker's dead. He retired. Okay, camera crew is checking. She's checking. I don't want to be insensitive to Bob Barker's family. I'm sure that they're probably subscribers to this channel.
I'm sure they are.
They're probably like, oh, should get those animals spayed or neutered. They're really cute until there's 40 of them. That's what my wife said about airplanes too. Didn't listen to that. He's still alive, isn't he?
Oh, I think he is still alive.
I told you he was alive. What is the deal? Why did you think he was dead? It's like a person can't retire without being dead.
No.
I mean, yeah. I mean, everybody assumed that Bob Barker would be doing that show until
He
he
was
died.
born in 1923. He's 96 years old.
What? Man, I hope I'm doing that good at 96. Or is he doing good?
I don't know.
You know, I didn't know this was going to be a PSA on Bob Barker, but whatever.
He retired in 2007.
Okay, I've given up.
No, he's still alive.
I've given up all hope of that wire. Never mind, guys. I give up.
We're sorry to Bob Barker.
I give up. Sorry, Bob Barker. And any Bob Barker fans out there, my apologies, personally. So we're going to stick this thing back in the hole. As you can see, we got a giant bundle of wires here, and I'm going to try to see if I can get that to tuck down. Camera crew, are you giving them a shot of this?
Well, I'm zoomed in.
This is some phenomenal footage here you're
This is
missing.
really.
This
I
is.
hope we get an Emmy.
I bet
for,
we'll get an Emmy someday. It's gonna be good.
Most boring.
The longest YouTube video in the history of YouTube videos.
We're working on that.
Actually,
Except
our
down.
internet decided. Our internet, actually, we broke the internet.
We did.
When we tried to upload that video.
So long.
It was so long.
You guys will be so excited.
And anybody who watches that is gonna get like triple gold
They're
stars.
gonna ask for their money back that they didn't.
Hey, careful. Some people do pay for YouTube. You know.
Well.
Yeah, that's right. So you got to be careful
Sorry.
about that. I used to use that joke all the time. That was before people were paying for YouTube. But now they do, some people. Just not our people. Just not our people, because they're smarter than that.
We're too cheap for that.
Okay, so my radio is on, just so you guys know. Throttle cut is engaged. And we're going to plug in the battery. Okay, it's plugged in. We have the status light on the receiver on. Okay, everything is settled. Everything is armed. Elevator up, elevator down. Steerable nose gear. Oh, crap. Crap.
Is it opposite?
Look at that. You're killing me, China. China. Why did you make them go the same direction? Seriously. When I give it rudder, okay, the nose gear needs to go that way, not that way. Oh my goodness gracious, this is so annoying. So, for those of you who haven't ever done this before, when your rudder, let's stand behind the plane for easy figuring. When I give it input like this, I want the nose to go that way. You'll notice the nose gear is backward. When I give the rudder the other way, it's going the other way. Now, you might be just thinking to yourself, well, just reverse the channel. You just reverse. No, they're gonna go the same, they're just gonna go opposite one another still. So the only way to fix that is to either waste another channel or to have a signal reverser, which my guess is there probably is a signal reverser somewhere inside of this plane, and it's just hooked up in the wrong spot. The other thing you can do is you can change where your output shaft is attached. Okay, so like if this is the way it's moving, if you put it down here, it'll move the other way. But easier said than done when it comes to nose gear.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes.
You did reverse the servo for the rudder on the radio, right? But that doesn't matter because they're tied together, right?
Didn't I just explain this?
No, sometimes you talk faster than you think.
So
just checking.
So what happens is they're tied together. So if they're tied together in their current configuration, and it's possible there's a reverser in there and they just got it wrong, but let's look at this so the people at home can see what's going on. So you see, I am most definitely not going to be able to reverse that servo in terms of taking it out and flipping it around 100. Okay, show the people what just happened. The catch just knocked a garbage can over right under me. So we'll pause it and get this reconfigured.
Okay.
So if I were to undo this screw and that servo were to come out of the hole, which is possible, we could try to flip the servo to the near side. But I think that's gonna cause more problems too, but I don't know what else to do. This is a bummer. We could also reach to the other side, but that's not going to work because this thing only goes off to the one side, guys. The other thing we could do is we could try to flip the servo on the vertical stabilizer. So let's show the people that at home. Okay, that might be kind of hard to do since there's a decal that says 7 on it.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be real easy. If I were to undo this, also I would have to put this linkage on the other side. Could you go back a little bit? The linkage would have to be over here so that the same output configuration causes the rudder to move the opposite direction. So with all those things considered, goodness gracious, I kind of wish we wouldn't have plugged the stinking thing in. Look, what happened to my gear door? Did it pop out?
Yeah, looks like it.
Hope it didn't break. Probably did. Okay, let's show the people at home. Show the people at home what happened. Are you freaking kidding me?
Did it break?
It broke. Look. See that? It broke. Son of a gun. So, you know, it's really irritating because this happened on my big one. On my...
I remember that now.
Yeah, it did happen. And so what I had to do was I took a little piece of wire and I melted it into that spot where that white, the unpainted spot is. And then I basically was able to manipulate it back into the hole and it was fine after that. But gosh, this is frustrating. I got to think about this for a minute, actually. We'll come right back. All right, folks, so we are going to fix these problems right now. It's going to suck. I don't look forward to it at all, okay? So basically what I have to do is I have to dismount the landing gear, okay? That's step 1 of like about 30.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this linkage has to be put on the other direction, and that'll resolve that problem. Secondly, we're going to see if we can flip. The other thing we're running into is that this linkage here will sometimes bind on the landing gear, which is not acceptable because that will definitely cause a problem. That screw just fell into the nose of the plane. That'll be surely fun to get. Okay, so it looks like they did leave out the 3rd screw at least, which is the 4th screw is going to be like impossible to get to, so that's probably good. Okay, so we got that out. These are the types of things that people never show you in their build series because they're embarrassed for their connection or whatever in China. I show it all because this is what I really experienced, and if you're going to waste this much time watching my videos, you at least should be able to learn from what was wrong. This needs to be cut down shorter so that it doesn't engage this. That's part of the reason why that's not working well. We need to get that undone. We need to fix this thing, which will be an easy fix, but it's just annoying that we have to do it. You see that little piece of plastic there? I have the piece of plastic sitting on the counter right here, guys, so you can see. That's what broke off right there, little plastic. That plastic would normally be on here. So we can use that as a gauge for the size of the piece of paper clip or whatever, and we'll just heat it up, put it in there, and then we'll clip it with side cutters. And then we'll slide it back in here and slide it through, and then it'll be done. But we have to flip this over first. The reason we're dismounting this is because I want to see if I can get to, we got to get that screw out of there too. I want to see if I can get that servo to operate in the correct direction. Now you can actually reverse the servo by taking it apart and swapping 2 of the leads on the trim, on the potentiometer, the position potentiometer, and then you can actually reverse it. You can also get reversible servos, or servos that are reverse servos rather. Okay, so that would normally go in there as a guide for this. It's not working well. Let's see how hard it is to pull that out. Well, surprisingly not as horrible as I figured it would be. Okay, so the first thing you would have to do if you want this to actuate the opposite direction would be to, first of all, of course, we're gonna have to figure out how to get that. Okay, so we're gonna run this the other way, like this. I think it's probably still going to actuate the same direction. Because normally you'd have to flip it over like this, but we'll see. I'm just curious to try it. See these little screws there, hun? Just help keep me honest on that. Oh, good, it's a plastic gear. Why would you want a metal gear? Okay, there we go. So now, before we get this all totally put back together, we're just gonna screw it together as though it's permanent because I don't want to take this out twice. And we do need to take out that, this linkage, so we'll do that next. So you'll notice this is gonna be in backward, which means that this may or may not work anymore. And that's all part of the show. These are the types of things you sign up for when you get into the hobby. Right, hon? Isn't that what you signed up for?
I did not sign up.
You did not sign up for that? Weird.
No, I didn't sign up.
See this, what I'm doing? I'm squishing the foam. Hurts my soul to do that, but that's the way you gotta do it. Okay, now watch. I'm gonna twist it. Just turn it vertical-ish. And then lower this down. Oh, it's awkward, guys. There we go. Okay, so now that's undone. So now that that's undone, we can try to get this out of that control arm, okay? So this control arm, oh, this is awkward. Okay, so now we're gonna pull this out like that, and then we're going to go the other direction with it. Yay, it's probably not gonna work as good, but we'll figure out right now. Hun, was that in the top hole?
I couldn't see because I was looking on the phone.
I think it was in the top hole, okay? So we'll see in mere seconds. So this is what we're gonna have to fix too. Now we could just try to re-glue this on here, but I just don't see that holding up. We could also pre-drill a hole and put a screw in there. That would actually be a pretty good way of doing it too, you see? Mm-hmm.
What'd you do last time? Piece of wire?
Piece of wire. Yeah. So I'm not sure on that yet, but the other thing too is when this is reversed, it's still gonna go backward probably. Okay, so if that were in like that now, when I move the rudder, I want this to go that way, okay? And I want this to go that way, like that, okay? So that's actually backwards still. Dang it. I was afraid of that. See, and the problem is your linkage can't reach over to the other side. Ooh, but look at this. There is a pocket over there. There is a pocket right there. Is that the same pocket that's on this side? It looks like it might actually be the same pocket, and there's a screw hole here. See? Look.
Yeah. Here, I don't know if they can see that. Here.
See this? There's another pocket, and there's a screw hole right there.
Same as on this side.
So what that's gonna do is that gives us the ability to actually move this servo to the other hole. Which I'm not saying that's easy or like nice that you have to do that, but you technically can. You can also just do a servo signal reverser, but I don't really have one of those that I know of for sure. What is that? What is that? Can you tell what that is?
This is just a little extra piece of
It's an
rubber.
extra piece of schmutz. Okay, so we took that out.
It's my favorite.
Okay, so this screw has to come out. That's a set screw that's going to allow me to take this whole assembly off, I think. Nope, that allows me to articulate this part here. That's just the turn. Isn't it just like super simple as that, right?
This has been so much fun.
Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? So the other thing you can do to make this actuate different, I think I'm just trying to figure out, do I need I can undo those two sets and take the whole thing off and flip it around. See, I was hoping I could flip it around without taking it all apart, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that. I think I'm gonna have to probably undo these two set screws. But then we have to get back, at some point we're gonna have to figure out if we can actually mount this. So this is still going to be intact, but now it's going to be like over there on the other side. This wire could be fed through the other side, I believe. Possibly. I can't tell which way that's supposed to go. I want to see if I can just reach it over here without redoing all that crap, because that's going to be a pain. I doubt I'm going to be able to get away with this. It'd be nice if I could, though. Actually, it'd be really nice if I could. Sorry. You got to move yourself around me. I'm sorry, camera crew, because I can't see good enough myself with this blue paint. I wonder if we need to... Oh, there we go. Oh, get in there. Oh, there we are. We're in now. So now maybe if I can just tuck that wire down there. See, I know ideally you would just route the wire all the way around the plane to the other side, but I'm too lazy for that.
Ideally.
I mean, correctly.
No.
See what I'm doing? I'm just forcing it down and away from all the important stuff. See, we could take some hot glue and glue that down. It would be totally secure. So now look, when I move the rudder, whoops. Okay, so that's gonna push, which is gonna make it go like that. Oh, is that the same way still? That would pull it forward. Oh crap, is that gonna do the same thing? It is gonna do the same thing, isn't it? I have to actually control from the other side. Okay. We're gonna pause it and come back. All right, guys, so servo signal reversers. That's gonna resolve our problem because we cannot do a mechanical adjustment on this. It's just not gonna happen. There's too many factors that we can't control because of the proximity of all these controls. So we're in the process of putting it back together, but in the process of putting it back together, we're gonna fix this lid. Option one would be to basically take some CA and some Instaset, or kicker as we know it, and glue this back on there. That would be a nice, easy solution, but I just don't think that's gonna hold up well. So we've got two different types of paper clips. I think we're gonna start with this, and if there's too much slop, see, the only thing is about this size is that I just don't know if we've got enough to have a good outcome. Can you show the people at home what I'm talking about? See, once this gets in there, there's just enough slop in there. I'm not sure if that's gonna hold. I think it's probably gonna be okay. See, if you get it too tight, it's gonna be very difficult. And you can see I had to squish this foam here to get this door out. So that's actually not a horrible thing, because when you pop that in there, you're gonna have to squish the foam just a little bit to get that in too, which is unfortunate. I was thinking about cutting it with an X-Acto knife and I decided against that process. So now what we need to do is we basically need to, we'll just fold this out and get the end that we want. So we have a nice clean end, and we're gonna just get this nice and toasty.
Why are we doing that?
Because then we can insert it into the hole. Yep, I know. Like, why didn't you just use a drill, Brian? Because a drill would not work. Okay, so we're gonna get that where we think we want it, and we're just gonna let the plastic kind of cool back down. And it's gonna basically hold it. Then we're gonna clip off both sides. We'll put a little bit of CA on there. See that plastic, as it melts, it's gonna, or as it dries, it's gonna kind of bite back down on there. And we'll use a little bit of CA to hold that in position. Where did the big side cutters go? There they are. Ooh. I still haven't figured out what the heck those things are called. I've had a lot of comments that have said, you know, it's this or that. Problem is, this or that. I've gotten too many different answers.
What, side cutters?
No, those wing tips.
Oh, those things.
Yeah. So unfortunately the melt made kind of a mess, so need the X-Acto knife to fix this. I wish I could tell you that I've never done this before, but I have. Make it smooth, Make it smooth. The tolerances are tight to get this back in. It's a pain to get it in once you do this with metal. These are the types of things that are just super, super irritating in this process. But I don't know. This is a sweet model. I want so badly for it to be awesome when I'm done. Okay, so now my next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually look about how long that needs to be. Yep, that's about right. So ideally, I want to melt this in and have a little angle on it because then that's going to hold it in. Okay, so you kind of see where we're going with this now. So I'm going to actually hold this with my forceps as I cut it so it doesn't fling across and pierce me in the eyeball or other balls. Okay. So when we melt this, it's going to be slid in. It looks like I probably should have bent that just a hair more. I'm just now noticing that, which is a bummer. Ow. I think that's going to work okay because now we can try to slide this through. Okay, just like this. And then when we get that warm, we'll slide that in and then that'll give us a nice strong pin. Might actually be able to just glue that. That would be nice because then we could slide this back in without breaking anything and then glue it. But we don't want to do any of that yet until we get this whole assembly back together. And in order to get the assembly back together, we got to clip this. Now this is going to snap on there and it's going to work okay. I thought maybe it was broken at the time, but unfortunately I got to try to cut this thing, which means I got to take this all the way off and I'm going to cut about 1/4 inch off of it because that's about how much we need off of there. So once we get this off, we can go ahead and cut that. The adjustment for this, believe it or not, is actually up here on these 2 set screws. You can just turn that shaft free then. Okay, so we've got that off. And yes, this will cut it in the garbage can. We could have probably used that to thread through that melted spot. That wouldn't be a horrible option, but it's really hard to control. There's no slot in it, there's no screw. So you're pretty much stuck throwing it away. Okay, so we'll just run this back on so that it's appropriate. That should never have been left like that by the factory. It should have been a different length probably to begin with. That was a problem. Okay, so now you can see that's going to be something like this. We need it something like that. So when we put this back into that control arm, we're going to actually do that by pulling out the servo again. Of course, we're probably not going to be able to get the servo out, so we're going to try to do it without the servo out. This is where it gets really tricky because you're always tripping over yourself from one step to the next. So this needs to go, presumably this needs to go like that. But you can see the way that that control arm is set. That's not going to work well. But if you go like this, then you're going to want to run into all this mechanism here. So the mechanism. Get in there. So we're going to have to loosen this again, unfortunately. Maybe we can just loosen it this time so we don't have to take it all the way out. That might give us enough room. Probably not. So we're going to pop these out. Sorry, I know I'm probably getting in your way. And this one I'm going to loosen also, and that should let us pivot it a little bit. So we don't need to move it a ton. And it doesn't feel like we're going to have enough. We'll have to take this one out too. It's like anytime you're fixing an airplane or working on an airplane or working on anything really, the less you can take apart, the less likely you are to break your something else that wasn't associated with it. Okay, because that seems like every time you tear into your car, you get a door clip that breaks or whatever. Same thing's true here. Now they did open that hole, so you can see where they opened it up. So that's going to be okay. We'll just slide this back down in there. See, this is the sort of thing you got to do if you want a reliable plane. You just got to spend the time to do this crap. And remember, we rotated that around, so thank goodness I didn't forget. We got to spin this back 180 degrees from where it is now. That servo signal reverser is basically going to go in line on just either the rudder or the steerable nose gear. It doesn't matter which one. You just need to flip one of them. Okay, and that's going to give you the ability to have them run the opposite direction. You can also literally open up this solder, or open up this the servo. You'd undo these 4 screws, you'd pull the whole mechanism out. There's a trim pot that's a potentiometer that gives the feedback for what the position of this arm is in. And you flip any of the 3 leads. So desolder and switch them. And then you switch the orientation of the DC on the motor. So you have to just desolder those 4 extremely small wires, and then you can make this, it will in fact be reversed. I'm not doing that. I'm going to use a servo signal reverser. This is, again, this is one of those things where, like, if I was a manufacturer of radio controlled airplanes, I would be highly embarrassed of this getting out quality controls front door. So I'm not real impressed with this part right here. Luckily the plane is gorgeous and I love it, so what other choice do we have but to grin and bear it, right?
And then you have that little like guide thing. Are you putting that back in there too?
Yeah.
The wood and white thing.
But can I put that in after this? I think I have
sure.
to. I think I'm gonna have to because I don't know how I'm gonna get this down otherwise.
Okay.
But yes, thank you for reminding me because I've already taken this apart like 3 times. Okay, so that's clipped in. So now we can just check. It should be going the opposite direction still because we haven't installed one of these yet. We will shortly, but this has to all be back together, and this is also going to then fix our door for us. So that's always good too. I gotta get some pliers. I'll be right back. How they say to use the right tool for the job. They've never seen this job.
Doesn't look like it.
Does that look like a hammer to you? Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
That's what I was thinking.
I thought it was the right tool for the job, personally speaking. Okay, so now I got to get this built at some point before I start getting too far ahead of myself. Whoa, don't drop now. Oh, jeez, do you see the cat?
Yeah.
Kitten is trying to get up into a snack box. Oh, there is one up there. Dang it. I mean, as much as it's annoying for us, it's probably really hilarious. Okay, so I'm gonna have to be holding this while it's hot. So the only way I can think to do this is to heat it up. I'm not gonna be able to transfer it in my fingers. So if I heat it up like this, then I can dive it into the plastic. This is going to be tricky, and this is gonna heat sink it too right here, okay? So you think I can control the heat that good?
Ooh. I guess we can find out.
Yeah, we will right now. It's not going to get like exceptionally hot. Oh yeah, buddy. Look at that. I'm just letting it cool, guys. See? Wrong tool for the job.
Do you want to know the really good news or the really bad news?
Is the battery almost dead? Oh, are you kidding me? Mm-mm. How close to dead?
15.
Oh, 15%? Oh, we got years. I'm serious. We should be good for a while. I mean, I hope I'm right on this one. I'm not right often, so I'm going to hope I'm right on this one. So basically what that means for you guys at home is that this is not going to be a 2-part radio setup. It's just not going to be.
It's just going to be a 3-hour radio setup.
Oh, jeez. My camera crew was complaining that this was going to be 3 hours long, and I was like, there ain't no way it's going to be 3 hours long. Well, I didn't know it was going to be a repair and radio setup video. Oh, come on now. There we go. Remember, this is just a little bit of CA, guys. Nothing too fantastical. Push that down, let that glue in. Okay, and then we'll just do just a little teeny bit more on top. Oh, come on, get out of there. I'm squeezing really hard. I don't know if you guys can tell from the vibration of my hand. Oh yeah, that's gonna be about 100 times stronger than the original stock. Door, I suppose it's better that it does this now than it does on the maiden flight, because why would we want to fix it after the first flight? Sorry, I take it all back. I don't ever want to fix a plane, but at least I can earn it if something's broke, right?
Right.
All right, so let's see if this works. It does move, that's good. So now we have to, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to make sure that we're not like way out of whack, which we do look like we're pretty far out of whack on the trim. Like that's so far out, it's not even in the ballpark. You see this? Do you see that? How far off that is?
Do you need to shorten, like twist in a few more twists of that
thing?
clevis?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I need to twist it in several more times. That would be wise. Thank you, camera crew. Good call. What are we doing for percentages there, camera crew?
What?
Battery.
Oh, I don't know. I can't see it. I just got the warning a second ago.
Oh, you just got
when I said
15% warning,
Yeah.
and then they're like, yeah, it's good enough.
I can't see. I don't want to screw up the video. We'd hate to lose these 37 minutes of
Pure delight.
Yes.
And bliss.
exhilarating, just
This
on
is
the edge of
exhilarating.
your seat.
You know what? This
Footage.
is the sort of crap that people will be like, can you write down what you did? And I'm like,
No.
really? Was that a question? So that pulled that back a little bit. I'm like, there's a reason we film this stuff, guys. You think I remember all this crap?
You'll watch the whole 3 hours to find out.
Yes, that's right. You have to watch all the 3 hours and all
the
76 ads that play.
You just wanted to test how long these mics were going to last.
Actually,
Longer than the phone.
we're hoping that that's the case, because otherwise you guys will be wondering what we were saying this whole time.
Be a silent movie.
Might be better that way.
Probably.
All right, so now that we have that down, you can see that's a lot more close to where it needs to be. Of course, that's going to be held back tight like that, so I think we'll be okay for clearing.
Is that little guide thing going to change the way that it goes at all?
I don't know. Probably. I guess we're going to find out right now, aren't we?
Guess
Let's try to get these screws in here. So you guys didn't see this when I was putting things together the first time. I'm using the forceps to hold the screw like that. And then it's like really awkward. Mm-hmm. There's such a thing as like a screw holder that you can get, and it will actually hold the screw for you. I have one for work, and I use it periodically when I have a really nasty spot to get into. It basically has a spring-loaded thing on the tip of the screwdriver. And it'll work for stainless screws too. So you see what I'm having to do there? Like, how ridiculous is that? So I gotta tip this at an angle, then hold it. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna hold it like this at a slight angle. It's gonna wanna pop out every time. Get that down in the hole. Grab 2 points on the screwdriver. That allows you to control the screw better. See? You hold 2 points on the screwdriver, you can create a lever with it. Otherwise, it'll just pop out on you. Okay. And for any of you that think this is not necessary, I'd be lying if I said it was not necessary. This is absolutely necessary. If you find a problem like this, you have to fix it or you're going to crash your plane. I knew that we were going to have to fix this as soon as I saw it working the way it was, which kind of broke my heart a little bit because I knew it was going to be a pain. See how that's hitting too? See that? How it's hitting the plastic? Mm-hmm. See that? That sucks. And also we're turning much sharper that way than we are that way. So I don't think we have enough adjustment yet. The one thing we could do possibly is we could actually bend this rod too.
That's why I think that little white thing is there.
What?
I think the white thing changes where it runs.
The white thing guides where it goes, huh? I mean, that's doable. It's manageable. It's not ideal, but it's okay. See, it turns much more to one side than the other. That's crappy. I just don't have to undo this every time. And look what I'm doing here.
I know.
Oh, just warn me if the battery dies.
I'm just so glad this is easy to film.
Mm-hmm. It's not. Did I just hear a noise?
Much impossible. No, it was like my shoe.
Your shoe made a popping noise?
Squeaked or something.
That's weird.
I don't know.
Some year I hope to be done with this.
That'd be good.
Okay, let's pop that out. Let's see if we can get this thing to pop out. Yes. Now let's flip this thing up. I'm gonna turn it in a couple more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half turns, okay? I wanna go 8, so that'll be even so that this thing pops in the same way as it had before. Gosh, how would you do this without forceps? Seriously, that would be really difficult.
Tiny China fingers.
Yes, tiny, tiny, tiny. Okay, so get in the hole. Oh, for the love of Pete. This is ridiculous. If you guys had philo-vision right now, you'd be like just so annoyed with this thing right now. You'd be wanting to throw it in the air and just watch it fly. Throw all caution to the wind and look at its immense beauty. Okay. Do you see what I'm seeing now?
What?
It seems like I have an even amount of adjustment left and right, but it's kind of favoring one direction neutrally. You follow what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm saying too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not crazy. It's
No,
actually that way.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know exactly what just happened there, but I think did I bend it?
I don't know.
Oh, I think I spun it. That's all. See, all I did was I spun it. See, watch this. See, that spins. See that? That's what was making that. So we can fine tune adjust it with this movement.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Sure.
Okay. And then I got to undo this so I can tighten that screw. How the heck are you supposed to get to that screw, by the way? Like when you get it into your fine tune adjustment, how are you supposed to get to it?
I don't think you are.
No, you are, because you have to be able to. Okay, I can't believe I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. See what I just did?
Goodness, what are you doing?
I'm penetrating.
I know.
I'm penetrating because I have to. I don't want to, I have to. I know it's gonna hurt everybody's soul watching this, but it's just the way it's got to be. Okay guys, here goes nothing. Wish me luck in the hole. Yeah, you're lucky the surgeon knows what he's doing.
Oh, sorry. Was the laugh there?
Okay. Get in there, you turd lover. You guys see what's happening here? Okay. If you don't line up, I'm gonna punch you in the fuselage.
Oh my.
Okay. I know. It hurts to watch, but it's happening. Okay. So we're in there. We're in it to win it. And look, now I can adjust that. It's not pretty, but That's what has to happen, because how else are you going to adjust a thing when you need to adjust it? So now I get to put this thing back on, and then that thing, and then the rest of the things. How's our battery? Is it still running?
I don't know. Well, it's still running.
Have you already stopped filming yet?
I gave up. I'm eating lunch.
I got to figure out how to get this drop back down there. How did we get that out? Do you remember, camera crew? I think I started with these screws anyway. So we'll pop those out again for the 4th time on this video. 5th time in reality. Okay. So once this one is loose, we can spin that in, I'm sure. So you can see why this is so much fun. This is why the people are beating the doors down at the hobby shops, guys. So this went like this. Okay. Then back you go. I'm sorry about the camera crew. I'm blocking you. I know you. I know I am, and I apologize. Okay, here we go. This is tight. Okay. Now, do I have a flat? I don't have a flat, do I? I was just going to say, you can see how at an angle, you see what's hitting?
Yeah.
It's the stupid guide that does absolutely nothing.
So do you need the guide?
It holds the servo in.
Oh. Well,
So I need at least the bottom part.
yeah.
But you see what's happening? It's
Yeah.
hitting. If I hold that all the way back, maybe it clears. Okay, unfortunately on this one, we got to do a little more heat treatment. You see what I'm doing here? This is where you all collectively cringe. Look what I'm doing.
Are you melting the corner off of the clevis? Oh,
Yes.
okay, I see it now.
Yes, I am. I didn't hear your collective cringe, camera
Oh,
crew.
I'm sorry. I was holding my breath.
See, it's still catching, so I need a little bit more.
If your battery dies, will it save what we've done so far?
I don't know. Probably not.
That might be bad.
That'd be very, very bad. Okay. So we let that sit. See? Now it's clear. Now the scary part is we tighten that back in and then we put the door back on. That's still a little bit toasty actually.
Hold on, I want to see. I can't like drag your phone down to see the battery.
You could stop it. Come right back.
We might have to.
Okay. Okay, so we necessarily paused it for a minute there. We got those 3 screws in and we're just ready to try to put this door back in. This is gonna be a fiasco. I did trim the inside. There was a little bit of a buildup from the heating. So now we're gonna hook this back on and see if we can get this all to go back together, which is probably gonna be a little bit of a ram and jam session. So I'm gonna let it down in the metal first. Nope. I'm gonna have to ram and jam it this way. So I'm gonna push this back like this, get that inside, and then slide it back forward. And then I gotta figure out how to get that one in. I'm gonna go down and then, nope, I can't go down and up. So I have to ram and cram it again. This thing does bend, hopefully it doesn't break. If it breaks, I have a way to fix it. See what I'm doing, guys? It's very painful to watch.
Oh my goodness.
I know, but it's in, okay? So we have adjustment here. So we have our movement. Now we're gonna cycle the gear. Whoops. See? No popping. Guys, I'm seriously, that was a huge amount of work, but that will save my plane.
Yep.
Without doubt. The only thing I got to do now is just adjust this linkage here just a little bit. Whoops, that was a little bit too much. So guys, if you disagree with that last commentary, you're wrong. You have to do it. If you get a plane like this and you want it to survive, you have to fix stuff like that when you get an opportunity, because you will not get a second chance. It will lock up on you in flight. You're gonna land it, your nose is gonna hit the ground. It's gonna be a huge mess, and then you're gonna do all the same work, except you will have destroyed the beauty and splendor of your airplane. And then you're gonna be like, what the heck, why didn't you warn me, Brian? Well, now I warned you. The other thing too that sucks is that you have to make this ugly hole, but I'll be honest with you, this ugly hole will work. I can color that and you won't even know it's there. And you see, now I can get in here and I can tighten this when we get our position exactly the way we want. So you can loosen that now and you can spin this. You see, you can loosen this. Now you can grab this and you can pivot slightly to reposition the gear. You see, now it's square. Now you can tighten this all the way down, because the only way to do it before was to literally take the entire assembly apart, okay? See, that torques down. Once that torques down, then that should set that so it can't move.
We're at 5%, so mine's dim. I don't know if it shows up that way for their video.
Gear, closure, gear open. Okay? All right, so now the last thing that we want to try to get in before the battery dies is we are still challenged with the reversing of the servo. If our battery dies, we'll cover it in the next little clip. This is going to be about a 3-second clip. So basically what we have to do is we have to take one of these servo signal reversers, and you'll notice that that's way off right now too. We got to figure out why that's doing that now. Probably still got a screw that we need to tighten. You can pick these things up for $5 or $6. I'm really annoyed that I had to pick one up for this. Warn me if things get awry on battery life there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slide the battery forward just to get it out of our way. And then we have to go into this wire bundle. And wherever we split off for channel 4, which was our nose, it doesn't matter which one you plug in or unplug. You just basically plug this in, white for white, black for black, red for red, okay? And then you plug it in, and we're probably not even gonna reassemble things. Okay, so it just switched. You can tell because the pulse width modulation forced the servo into another direction. I don't want that to fall down into the gear holes. So now we show the people when I move the rudder. Show the people at home, I move the rudder this way, the nose goes that way, the rudder goes this way. When I move the stick that way, okay, show them from the other angle. Hun, from the other angle. Sorry. So you see, when I move the gear this way, it goes that way. That's correct. When I move it that way, it turns that way. We just have to tighten up the mechanism. So without further ado, our batteries are gonna die, so we'll come right back. All right, so we're gonna pick up this radio test or radio setup here. You'll notice the nose gear is working. We're turning that way. We're turning that way, okay? We're turning that way and we're turning that way. So the ailerons are rolling us, the elevator's pitching us, the rudder is ruddering us, yawing us. Throttle cuts on, throttle cuts off. We'll test the throttle. Okay, so we have throttle. Throttle cuts back on and tested, clear the timer. So now that we've established that all the axes are working, I have to show you what we did off camera for a few minutes. We had to figure out a solution to the problem for the gear. You guys will have to probably do this too, unfortunately. But watch this, okay? Gear close. You saw everything we did with the exception of one detail. Gear open. Okay, now I want to show you something. Since you may be using the rudder, you see how it's kind of bumping into that thing? That's no big deal. We already adjusted and cut. We cut right there a little bit off of that. But then we also modified this little area here by taking a simple toothpick, and we had to run this toothpick down. I cut off the tip at an angle like this. And then I use that to pinch this wire so that it can't walk out. But if you want to get this taken apart to work on it, you can. And then I used Q-tip, like I've used in the past, and I peel out just a little bit at a time. And then I reinforced on either side. And then I used CA and kicker to just glue it in place. And you'll see what happens. When I move, everything moves. Show them right from above the top, right here.
And I zoomed in so they could see the...
Okay, watch guys. See how it's moving? Now we're gonna actuate. Don't zoom in. Okay, so now watch this. When I close the gear, you might be moving. See how that moves up and down? That's what you want. You'll notice these doors don't close perfectly. I don't even care. Make sure you test this on your plane. You will regret it if you don't, because your rudder will be working with the stabilizer. Okay? As you can see, it always opens reliably. What's going to happen is when you flip the plane upside down, if you don't do this little maneuver or something like it, that piece right there is allowed to fall down and go to right here, and it will not even actuate the landing gear. That's why we had to lock this down there. There may be other ways to do it. That's just the way I came up with it. It was very, very easy to do. It took me like 5 minutes. Unfortunately, we were waiting for batteries to charge at the time. And then I also colored this fin. I used a regular blue marker, like a Sharpie marker, and I used a black marker, and I just kind of blended the colors until it matched. As you can see, it's a pretty good match. And then the hole that we made right here to be able to access this screw, show the people from above. I colored that with the same get up, and I used a little alcohol to spread it down into the hole so you can't even tell it's there hardly.
But since you worked on that a little bit ago, you've not had gear that hasn't cycled.
No, it's always cycled.
Yep.
And it's never ran into itself.
Yep.
And since we flipped this wire over, which was a humongous pain in the butt,
Yep.
we have perfect operation. Okay, and you'll notice I'm wiggling it back and forth, intentionally trying to get it to screw up. And I have not had it screw up once, and I'll be totally frank with you guys. After a couple of landings, it probably will. And then I'll have to straighten it out again. That's just the nature of nose gear on tricycle radio-controlled airplanes. This is not a very big spring, but what you're gonna find out is that those springs, while they look cool, don't do much on a plane like this, because you're gonna crush the foam before you crush that spring, okay? These ones, maybe. They're a little bit softer, believe it or not, okay? They look cool. They kind of give that scale appeal, but they don't really do that much. Let's just be honest. So this might dampen it a little teeny bit. And then the wheels are pretty hard, but these wheels are really cool. I like the way they look. I just wish there was a little bit less slop on the whole mechanism, because you see that? Look at that.
Yeah.
That is a lot of slop. And to be honest with you, it's gonna manifest itself when you're running down the runway at full speed. It's gonna basically lock itself square. You're still gonna be able to hint the plane one way or the other. I'm just a little bit concerned it's not gonna give us enough throw to make a nice tight turn like you could in a real airliner. It'd be cool. So the point is, my point is, we got the landing gear working reliably. If they're 100% reliable on the ground, they'll be 95% reliable in the air. Yep. Maybe 90. More like 85 in reality, I guess, yeah. So whatever you do, and then I threw a little teeny bit of glue on these wires because they were wanting to pop out. Just a little teeny corner of glue on both wings to hold that down. The servo wire didn't seem to be as big of an issue, but these were pulling out. And I could just see one side dragging out and creating some sort of a weird yaw condition that would drag the plane into an unrecoverable stall. So these are just the little things. Of course, you got to look at this too, because like this, you see how that fuselage is a little bit loose on this side? The decal is holding it. Now that's a decal that's like this tall. So it's going to hold it. I'm not really that worried about it coming undone, but I'm going to have to keep a close eye on that. So why do I show you these points of concern? Because if I had them, you're probably going to have them too. These doors not closing square, doesn't really bother me because, to be honest with you, like I said, once you're going 40 or 50 or 60 miles an hour and you're opening and closing them, the performance on the ground is going to be the best performance you ever get, and it's upside down. So let's just demonstrate how it works with the gear going downward. So you can see, I got to kind of balance it funny here. So cool. And then still working. I was very pleasantly surprised with the amount of power this plane has. So it's not quite A10 power, but I'm going to show you real quick. This is before we even, this is so crazy. We've done so much of the assembly and build in this radio setup. Okay, so I'm going to just try to hold this without causing any damage. So not unlimited vertical, but very close. Now, the power to weight ratio, of course, 1-to-1 would be neutral. It's close to 1-to-1. It's probably like 1 to 95, or I might be saying that right, 95 to 1. So you're very, very close to being a 1-to-1 ratio. That A10 was phenomenal. It was like a 1.1 to 1. So you could actually float, you could hover it in the living room, which is awesome. But on an airliner, you shouldn't need that type of a relationship between your power and your weight. You should be able to be a little bit less than 1-to-1 because you're not going to take off like a STOL thing, you know. So that all being said, what's left on this plane for radio setup, of course, we got to go ahead and get the gear opened. The other thing is to center this gear, to get it square, is about the easiest adjustment ever. Now that we have everything braced up, all you do is you literally grab this and you just force it to the angle you want. So you see how that's kind of square there? All you got to do is just grab this and just bend it a little bit. And what's going to happen is this little mechanism down here is going to be forced to pivot. Once that pivots, then of course the left-right is attached to that. So it works out really nice. So let's flip this on its legs and we'll get back to radio setup. That was more than an hour worth of video that we didn't expect to have. So sorry folks, that's what you get. Plug-in fly planes are a lot more work. That's why we don't do as many of those, in case you haven't noticed. Okay, so guys, come back over and we'll give you a shot inside of here. It's a very big mess. As you can see now, we have the wires just kind of like all strewn. And then we have this new thing too, which was the, I gotta grab it out of here. Oh, that's not it. Where is that thing? There it is. There she is. This is our servo signal reverser, okay? So that is just interrupting either the rudder or the steerable nose gear. I don't even care which one, but it is. So now we can unplug our battery. Again, this is a 4S 3200 milliamp hour smart pack from Spectrum. 4S 3200 milliamp hour 30C. If you had a 50C, you might get that little bit so that you were a 1-to-1 power to weight ratio. Now, the other thing is I may end up flying this on a 2200 4S. And if that doesn't work out well, this strap is big enough, I believe that I can get away with doing 2 like this. I'll show you if that fits right now. 2 2200 4S's. You can fit through the opening like that. I just don't know if it's going to be real practical. Looks like we're probably going to be able to make it if we really cared to make it. The thing that I like about the dual 2200s is, first of all, of course, it's a little bit bigger. But secondly, you can negotiate them in here in different ways, okay? So long as you have a nice hug from that Velcro strap, you should be okay. But you see, it's about ready to come out of there. I just want you guys to know what type of capabilities you're gonna have. And see, that's part of it. You know, when you build one of these planes, it is possible that, you know, you won't have the same issue that I've had with this with my landing gear. I really doubt it though. You're probably gonna have the same exact problem I did. Can I even get that around? I think I can. Ooh, maybe not, see? I'm just barely making it. With a little bit of effort, you could probably tighten that. You see the problem I run into, camera crew? I got like just a little teeny tiny bit of that Velcro still attached. But just out of curiosity, for my own, to satisfy my own curiosity, I want to see if I can CG this. Okay, so that's what 4,400 milliamps of capacity. It's a little bit nose heavy right here, but we have room to bring it back. And you would basically end up with the biggest flight configuration that this thing is supposed to have, and then a little bit larger. And I set them offset like that on purpose. We could always pull them both back together. But I just want you guys to see if this is possible. Because some of you guys are going to want to fly with bigger packs. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. I could get it centered out. Feels like we're right on the edge of getting it. Okay, so I'm just going to pull them both even. So they're both like side by side like this. Okay. I think it's there. I think it's there. Got on my shirt. Oh yeah. Just a little teeny tiny bit of nose down tendency, which is perfect. So yeah, that thing would definitely hold the batteries. It would fly with them. And with that power to weight ratio that we were experiencing earlier, this would be fine. That strap, you're gonna have to really torque on it. So you may break your plywood if you do that.
Yeah.
My camera crew is cringing. So that all being said, I know for a fact that back in the day when I was flying this particular plane in the A320 configuration, which was the Airbus A320, I was flying it on 3S, not 4. So I believe this thing will be just fine on 3S, but you're gonna have to have a really hellaciously long roll up to speed. So let's talk about cable management for a little bit. We're gonna basically take a few minutes and tie up wires, and then we're gonna set up the radio. Camera crew, I'm not sure where you wanna be.
I'm not sure either.
So obviously we know where the battery needs to sit, approximately. We're gonna predominantly be flying with the 4S configuration. I wanna kinda get this just out of the way for now, because it can be negotiated one way or the other. We've got this one zip tie here, and really all I need to negotiate is this. I just need to get that tied up. All right, so you see what I'm doing there? I'm just kind of doubling it back on itself. And this is just the servo signal reverser for either the nose gear or the rudder. And I actually don't know which one it is. It doesn't matter. It just reverses one of the two so that they are going the correct direction.
I'm pretty sure it's the nose gear because I heard it like
Twitch?
yeah, when you plugged it in. 'Cause
Okay.
I was standing
Oh,
at
that's
distance.
right. Maybe I do remember that now.
Yep.
That's right, camera
Be
crew.
my
Thank
guess.
you. It doesn't matter at all. I did notice that while I was working on this, I had it plugged in for like, I don't know, 30 minutes or something after we were done filming, while we were getting all our batteries charged back up. And I noticed I heard it kind of like waking up, you know, like the servo, like.
Oh.
It's not like it moved. It was just almost like it was finding home position again. It's just kind of one of those noises you get used to hearing in the RC environment. Okay, so we've got that one tied up. Now, ideally, I want to tuck this down. Oh, shoot, I would have liked to have that in that bundle too. So I'm going to try to get this in there. If it'll go. Yep, it does. Good. Can you go to the other side there, camera crew? You might have an easier time.
I know, this wing is in my way.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of awkward.
Attached to myself now.
Yeah. Okay, so this I'm going to stuff down here. That's just going to tuck down there. Then this is, gosh, I can't remember. That's the Y cable for the power to the ESCs, or the power from the ESCs, if I recall. So really, I need to make a decision. Do I try to double this back over on itself, which I could do, and then I could just stuff that down. That would be fine. I'm not opposed to that. I don't have any problem with that, as long as it doesn't yank them out of the receiver. So now the other thing I was talking about doing right at the beginning was just basically getting this thing to where it's going to be solid and not worrying about having that pop out. So that's what's gonna happen next. I'm gonna hot glue a couple of different items just in different spots that are gonna help give us a better chance at success. So I've got my hot glue gun ready. I'm gonna grab that and come right back. You guys have probably noticed that when I walk away, you can hear me nicely now.
We hope.
I don't know if that's a good thing or not. You're gonna have to give me some feedback if there's issues with the audio quality. Okay, trade me spots there, camera crew. Sorry, I kind of gotta be in there so I can see.
Yeah, no, I was just showing them while you were.
Okay, so obviously it's a hot glue gun. You gotta be a little bit careful for using a hot glue gun on foam. So this is the retracts. So what I wanna do is I just wanna secure the wires in a way that they're not impossible to renegotiate later. Okay, but you also wanna keep the weight down, okay? Because it's not like you need them to be out of the way permanently. You just need them to be kind of under control, okay? So then this stuff over here, I was having such a heck of a time getting those things to zip tie in. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually gonna pull a little bit of slack on this one line if it will let me, and it will. Oh goodness, there it goes, okay? So now I should be able to take and just give that a little teeny bit of glue right there, just to kind of hold that up. Relieve the pressure, like if I'm doing some crazy stupid 3D maneuvering or whatever, which I typically don't do a lot of that, but sometimes I do just for fun. I'm actually gonna do just a little teeny bit of glue here, just to keep those things from unscrewing or working themselves out. Then I'm gonna do a little bit of glue here on the receiver. You see what I did there? That just keeps the servo wires from popping out unexpectedly. I don't think that's gonna be a big issue on this plane, but who knows? So now that I've done a little bit of glue to hold those connectors, I noticed that this popped out. So I am going to work that back in. That's gonna get a little bit warm, so I can't use hot glue to hold this together. This is gonna have to be a zip tie. I don't like this short Y cable. I kind of wish it was maybe a little bit longer so that we could run those leads down and just have one nice tidy wire up at the top. But you don't always get what you want. Okay, so you see what that is? I want this to go back onto the other half of the XT60 here. And since I can't glue onto the BEC, which by the way, at this point, my understanding is that BEC is only powering the flashing lights and the nav lights. So, gosh, that's hard to get over there. I don't want to break the components under this heat shrink. Okay, there we go. I got it over the lip. Now we should be able to slide it back, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do to hold that in place. It should be super easy. Okay, so that's back there now. It's held pretty good, but again, just a little teeny bit of security measure here just to keep it honest. There we go. Just a little teeny bit. I mean, we're not talking about a lot of weight, but there is some weight. There is a weight consequence here. So you gotta remember there's a little bit of a penalty for weight every time you do something like that. So you see these three wires, I wanna make them nice and tidy, and I wanna get them up. Possibly I wanna tie those again. Not sure if I need to. You see right there, camera crew, what do you think? I'm gonna go ahead and plug this back in, get it hot again.
Can you put a zip tie around those three?
Yes. Yeah, I can.
I would.
I'm gonna do that I've got this one that's bent already.
Then either leave them if they stay nice or
Yeah.
glue them to the wall.
Well, if I glue them to the wall, when you glue hot glue up against foam, it just doesn't always hold well.
Yeah.
Because it basically melts away the wall that it was supposed to be sticking to. So, but also the other thing too, you'll learn when you work with these models for a while, and I'm sure you guys have done a few if you're watching this video, especially a video of this length. You run into a situation where it's just a pain in the butt to take it apart when you need to get something apart to fix something. If you get a bunch of zip ties going. So yeah, I'm gonna just put a little bit on. I'll show you another trick if you haven't already done it. It's actually usually a pretty helpful trick. I'll take just a longer screwdriver, Bearing in mind it's going to quickly cool the glue, so you got to work very fast. Slather it onto the back of the foam or wherever you're sticking it, and then you can just stick the wire right up against it. See, that's still hot, but it's almost dry. See, just because this is on a cool, large heat sink essentially. So I'll just roll that off of there. See how quick it dries. The other thing you can do is if you know you want to do that, you can heat this up with a torch for a second. But that'll hold that wire there. I just need a little bit more back here. Okay, so obviously you're not going to get the gun in there. So you got to kind of work really fast. Get it right on the tip. And then get it back where you need it and then squish it in quick. You see I took off just a little teeny bit of that glue. And that's going to hold that wire in there. And if it breaks free, no big deal. It's not like the end of the world, but you can see how quick it dries. Okay, so that's in there securely now. The rest of these wires, it would be nice to know that they're not going to come out, but let's just be practical. It's possible they might someday, and it's not really that big a deal. It'd be kind of cool if I could just tuck this down there too, just kind of give it a half twist. Remember, when you manipulate wires, give them twists once in a while, and they'll help the wires to do what you want them to do. That's a pretty nice look right there. See? If I can just keep that only out, that'd be sweet. Will that fit? Because then I can, well, except I don't think I'm going to reach quite where I need to reach to. See, and then this wire is the wire for the lid. So it'd be super nice if I had an easy way of bracing that, but not making it a pain to work with. So I have to think on that for a minute. These two retracts, they go to the mains. This one I'm going to stick along the side, just like with this trick here. So I'm going to go get a little bit of glue. Just going to slather it on the connector itself, keep it warm longer, and then stick it along the side. Don't worry about the strings, let it set. Okay, it's set. And then pull out your strings. Those strings, believe it or not, will cause you problems if you're not careful. Okay, so now the antennae, we haven't really spent a lot of time looking at the antennae, but let's go ahead and do that right now. I've got two of them. Okay, here's one. So on the antennae, what I want to do, and I can rip this however I want because it's about to run out. Okay, so I'm going to just stick this like that. It doesn't need to be pretty at all. Remember, I'm not doing this with glue because I don't want to degrade the signal any more than I have to, and this thin tape should be fine. Okay, so I'm going to stick that lengthwise. I'm beyond the little the sequencer. Okay, so you'll see that we kind of go up and around, so we kind of clear everything there, which is nice, so it's not vulnerable. And then this second one, there's one that's longer than the other, and remember guys, these are coax cables, so that means there's an inside and an outside. So if you kink it, you're going to break it, or you could break it. You probably will, especially this end. This is based on the wavelength of the signal. That's the exposure amount. I think it's like 28 millimeters. 28 millimeters, if I'm right. I could be wrong on that. There was something about the signal. I actually have an idea for this. You see how this only goes partway down? Show the people from the other side here, camera crew. You see this here? We could go vertical, and what we would do is we'd basically have this taped right here. Okay, so on that face, because that's much lower than the actual surface of the, so I kind of like that. We're going to do that. It's not like there's a right or wrong. You just want them at 90 degrees of each other, and you're in a 360 degree world, so it's not like on a flat surface. You're just choosing between left and right. You're choosing between three axes. I have done this with glue before. I've generally not had a problem, but I still would be a little bit careful. This one's not wanting to tape here. It's just not a good angle. Let's see if it hits. We'll just drop this in here temporarily. Oh, it clears. So I need to do that a little bit nicer. I've got an idea for that too that will work. I'd like that to be more secure. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a little teeny bit of hot glue, And we'll use just on the unexposed portion of the antennae. Okay, so we'll just take this, we'll hold that and protect it, and we're gonna get a little bit of glue on it. We're just gonna glue it right where we think we want it to go, okay? So it's right there, of course. This cooled the glue too quick. Camera crew, can you squeeze that trigger? Okay, good. Yep, that'll do. That's gonna hold it. And then basically once that's done holding, now we can go ahead and tape it and get it in there real nice, because we do want those to be securely mounted in a place that's not gonna get damaged, preferably. And you're thinking to yourself, but where are you gonna want to be damaged in your plane? Well, I agree, but there's certain areas of your airplane that are gonna get damaged, like this edge. Look how much it's damaged already just from putting it together. But you see, when you put your batteries in, you're gonna be able to bump into that. So it might be better to have it somewhere else, but that's where I came up with, so I'm gonna stick with it. It'll work. It's gonna give us our full diversity. So diversity is 90 degrees of each other, okay? 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Okay, so that looks a lot better without hardly any effort. So that's pretty awesome. I'm happy with the way that that's turning out. Now I'm just trying to decide, do I want to do any more with this receiver? Obviously we've got this other retract that kind of like chases over on the outside. I'm not crazy about that. See how it goes under there, camera crew? Mm-hmm. I wonder if I could cheat it underneath, you know, like if I were to slide it underneath under the receiver in such a way that would clear underneath these wires, like right in the middle. You think I could get that? I'm gonna try with the forceps.
Hard to say.
Got the transmitter by you there now.
Okay.
Just a heads up. All right, so I gotta try to be careful about how I unplug this so I don't damage it. Because I should be able to get it back to the way it is if my idea doesn't work. Could also do this from outside, which we may end up having to do. Oh, come on. Okay. I got it started. Okay, switch sides. No, over my left shoulder. You're not gonna be able to see anything. I can try to lift up the tail of the aircraft a little bit. How about we try that? See if that gets them a better angle.
Maybe.
It's just awkward.
It's not working out.
That doesn't make a big difference, does it?
No.
Well, we'll try the best we can. Guys, it's like hard enough for me to see, let alone having somebody else see it. I can barely get my eyes in there. Got it. Okay, so it's unplugged. So now I can just grab that wire very carefully, and I'm not pinching on it with the forceps, okay? See, there's one of the retracts. So now I can try to slide this underneath like so, and then I can try, see how the brown is toward us, camera crew. Now I've got that clamped on there totally because I'm on the plastic housing. It's so hard to tell if I'm lined up or not. Oh, there we go. Now I can see, sort of, but not really. I gotta flip over this way. If you can't get it in the hole, don't be afraid to flip it over. Just saying, it's a helpful tip. Tips for life. Okay, so that's in there. It's in there good. Okay. Yay. Now, the next thing to do is to secure the receiver itself. So I want to get a little bit of glue on either side on the back because I can get to it easily. Yeah, just unplug it.
Okay.
Excuse me. So we're going to try to get in there, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to have to use the applicator.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if you guys can see what's going on, but I'm just basically putting it on the corner there and just throwing caution to the wind. It doesn't have to be pretty. It'd be better if it is. Sorry, I can't work around you, not with hot glue. And then the same thing on the other side, except this time it might be nice to also secure those wires. I don't know. I'll secure those to the other side actually. Hope you guys can tell what you need to tell from watching this. This is not like the right way versus somebody else's wrong way. There's a million ways you can do this. And this is just one way that some dude did it. Okay. So of course there's, you know, better ways than others, but this is largely a subjective exercise. Okay. And yeah, you're thinking, gosh, how much glue are you going to put on there, Brian? I don't know. A lot, I guess. No, I didn't get burned because I'm licking my finger. It's gross, I know. That's like a faux pas for Corona world, post-Corona, finger licks. I learned it from the CDC. Mm-hmm. So you see this? I'm gonna pull these wires over here and I'm just gonna get them tucked up along the side there, okay? So we're gonna do the same trick where we put a little bit of glue and then we drop this down. Of course, I got a bad angle there, so I'm gonna use the wires to actually pull the glue off of the screwdriver tip. And I get down in there and push that in, okay? So now why am I gluing that? This is just strictly a looks thing, so it looks nicer, because then you won't see them from the bottom as much. And then I can hit them from this side too, right there. You follow, camera crew? Does that make sense to you? Mm-hmm. That side I should be able to do direct. Okay, that was a little bit more than I would normally do, but this is gonna be a pretty squirrely bunch of cables, I can tell. See, I'm just gonna pick up some glue, put it over the top. I've done this a million times like this, guys. It's always worked really nice for me. Never melted a wire. Never melted a wire. Never cut a cable doing it. Always had pretty good luck. It's like a wax seal, okay? Now, is it perfect? No, but it's really nice because if you do need to get at the wires again, totally removable. It's a lot easier than undoing zip ties, but it does weigh a little bit more than doing zip ties because most of the zip tie gets cut off and you're left with just that little band that goes around the wires, of course. Okay, so that looks a lot better than it did just a few minutes ago. Wouldn't you say, camera crew?
Yeah, let me show them.
Yeah, give them a good look in there since they've been just feverishly trying to see.
Hands.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. There's not a whole lot I can do about it. I like the way it turned out. I think it looks good. Watch, you're standing on that. What do you think, camera crew?
I think it looks good for as
Compared
much
to
as
what it
what's
did.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it did just a few
20
ago.
minutes. 20 minutes ago, it looked like a electron puked in there
Yeah, that's pretty neat
for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've got this big bundle in the middle. And to be honest with you, the big bundle in the middle doesn't really bother me because to be honest with you, it's not gonna come out.
Right.
I'm just gonna leave it tucked in there. In fact, I just tucked it under a little bit more if you wanna give them a shot of that. See that? I'm just tucking it under because like who cares? Okay?
They've got to be there, so.
Yeah, they gotta be there.
Oh, it runs.
And that's why you do your pre-flight inspection because if there's an issue. Now, the other thing is I was thinking about trying to make this lid connection in a different way such that I'm actually gonna glue down one more wire. I just thought of this wire that goes to the controller for the sequencer. See how this wire's flipped over? I'm gonna flip that around 180 degrees. If you go from my other side, you'll be able to see this better. Thank you. See this right here, guys? Right there. I'm just gonna try to flip this over. I know. Okay, there you go, like that. So then I can just push that down in the glue. The other thing too is keep in mind, you get a real hot lipo in here and you might encourage these things to come undone. That would not be good. It's not like they're gonna fall out of the airplane though. But you see, I'm just flattening that, giving maximum contact area. I just don't want that wire to cut itself over time on this edge because it is relatively tight. And then this retract wire that goes under to the other side, yeah, I think I'm gonna just tuck that RT label under it itself. Then I'm just gonna do the same thing here, just another little chunk of glue right there. Okay. Again, guys, you can undo this glue without any trouble at all. And then this wire here, I'm gonna just tuck that onto the top and glue it. This one over here is already secured good enough. I don't feel like it's necessary. Okay, just holding that down until it sets up. Okay, so we're good there. So now we basically have the wires where we want to have them secured, particularly in the area where the battery is going to sit. I'm satisfied with it. Hopefully you guys are satisfied with it. And in terms of this lid, I'm probably not going to unplug it much, just because I don't think I'll need to. It's actually kind of nice because it holds onto the lid for you. So like when you, oh geez, that one's not very fun to plug in and out too. I was thinking I could probably glue that down, but I'm just not even gonna bother with it. I'm just gonna stuff it in there when I need to. I may actually even do something like that just so that when I'm yanking on it, it doesn't yank the wires out, but I don't know that I care that much. I think we're probably okay without. I like it. I think we're good. Okay, so now to put the battery in, we'll see how bad it is to get the battery in there. I'm plugging the hot glue gun to let that cool. I don't think we're gonna need it again. We can go ahead and pull this out. Keep an eye on your antenna. If you, and I mean your scale antenna, not your literal antennas, your real antennas. I think we need to zip tie this. Just because that's gonna get out at some point, and that's fine. But I just don't want to be fighting it if it catches onto something. The other thing is you can actually run 2 lipos on this plane, but just keep in mind if you run 2 lipos, it does complicate things a little bit because you have to make sure your reference stays the same. And depending on how you wire up your power to the receiver, you're gonna have one receiver that's providing power from the lipo and the other one is not gonna be providing power from the lipo, so you could lose a reference point. That's been my experience. I had that happen on the Airbus A380. I have a bunch of videos about that if you wanna see how I did that. It was a way more complicated setup than this. I had spoilers and all sorts of stuff going on that plane. Okay, so now show the people at home. So you've got this, 1 zip tie, no zip tie, 1 zip tie, okay? So now that can tuck down wherever. And it's ready to be plugged in. I want to try to kind of favor it that direction. This is a pretty substantial amount of mass, so I want to try to keep it where it's going to be. You know, I don't want it to be wandering around. It would be kind of nice to have that tied somewhere, because then no matter what happens, what battery you're using, you'd have it in the right spot. I think it's just going to make it harder to use though. Okay, so the dual 2200 2S's required me to unplug that, or I mean undo the Velcro, so let's get this battery back in here. Let's just recheck our center gravity point, which you can see the marking on the battery tray there. I'm gonna pull on the loose end here, get that down to where we want it. Get that battery right there. Pull that tight. I need to pull that a little bit more when we undo it. Yeah, you can see what I was talking about now. How we just, if we just had that sticking out, that'd be kind of nice.
I still don't know if length.
Story of my life.
You said it, not me.
So, that's plugged in. I'd like those wires to be not stressed. Okay. You notice it takes a while to initiate.
Yeah,
I'm not
that was a long
really sure why it takes so long to initiate. I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but it is a practical reality we have to face. Elevator. Ailerons. Rudder. Okay, so everything is set up on the primary control surfaces. We're gonna clean up and then we're gonna do radio setup. Okay, so we are done with the basic AS3S set, the basic setup. Basically, we did all the regular setup. We confirmed that, well, we haven't really messed with trims because Horizon says to like go test fly your plane. I'm not gonna test fly my plane right now, but there is a little bit of a trim issue probably on the aileron. It's not a big deal. We could mechanically center it, which would probably be wise. This one over here is also down slightly. It's not gonna be a big deal. We're down by like one little teeny tiny nothing. So I'm not super worried about it. Our elevators look like they're also down just one little teeny tiny nothing. I'm just gonna adjust it when I fly it. Okay, so to use the AS3X technology with the Spectrum AR637 receiver, the receiver needs to be set up with a compatible Spectrum transmitter, which I believe this is what we have. Okay, we have to go to the verify the basic setup and trim is accurate before attempting AS3X setup. Forward programming setup. The receiver is directly configured through the forward programming menu. Low throttle is required. Throttle cut is on, by the way. So forward programming, gyro, and then first time setup. Well, interestingly enough, I don't exactly know where that is. So I'm gonna go to system setup. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump in the menu and I'm gonna go to telemetry and I'm gonna look in here. AS3X. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Now I can go in and change the settings, but I don't know exactly where the forward programming is. So I'm going to figure that out and come right back. Turns out that your wonderful host has not updated the firmware on his transmitter in like 2.5 years. But that's okay, it's all part of the show around here. So it did not erase any of my models, which is really nice. I got onto the Spectrum website and I found my registered device. I backed up all my models. I exported them by doing this, system setup, disconnect, scroll all the way to the bottom, transfer SD card. I selected an option of export all models and I said yes, and then I exported. At which point I was able to take and put them all onto my desktop in a new folder that was labeled with today's date, just in case it killed them, which it didn't. So it took about a minute. It said Spectrum and it had a status bar that went across, you know, Windows style. It just went all the way across and then 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 went all the way across and stopped just short and then went all the way across several more times. Very exciting, gut-wrenching experience for a guy like me.
Good thing we have so much space on our desktop.
Anyway, as you can see, elevator, rudder, ailerons, and steerable nose gear, of course. So if you'll look in here, whoa, look at this. Oh, are you kidding me? Look, forward programming. It does exist. It's so weird. It was right there under my nose. Okay, main menu. Gyro settings. Okay, so we're supposed to go to gyro settings. Gyro. Thank you. Gyro settings. First time setup. Make sure the model has been configured, including wing type, reversing, travel, trimmed, etc. before continuing. What does etc. mean?
Everything else you're supposed to know.
Any wing type channel assignments, subtrims, or servo reversing changes require running through initial setup again. What? Follow the on-screen prompts to set orientation. Select continue to complete the two-step auto detection process or set orientation manually. Okay, I'm just going to do what it says. Set the model level and press continue. It is level. Continue. Set the model on its nose and press continue. If the orientation on the next screen is wrong, go back and try this again. Okay, so I need to set it on its nose. This could be awkward. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Would you please press continue? Don't scroll, just click. What does it say?
Orientation. And then it has the orientation of the receiver, which I believe is backwards because
Just hold on. Just hold on. What does it say? Just read the words that are on the screen.
first time setup, orientation 5, continue.
What's wrong with that? That's the way it is,
Is
isn't
it?
it? Yeah, because the Air 637. Okay, so let's
It's
just
to the
look.
front?
Let's just look. Let's just look.
I thought the Spectrum logo was the other way.
Sound like there's a battle happening out there.
Sounds like it.
See, it's the same way. They
Okay.
have it right.
Okay, good.
Okay,
thought
so
it was that way.
Spectrum, you haven't done me wrong yet. Isn't it funny when you don't take advantage of technology for years because what you have is working perfectly fine until you find out it's not working perfectly fine and then you have to do something about it? That's me.
It's the story of your life.
Okay, orientation 5. Wow, I didn't know I was so advanced. Continue. Am I still following the steps?
I don't know.
You can assign any open channel to a switch for gain. Okay, so I'm gonna set the gain to this at some point. Gain channel select. There we go. Come on, you can do it. See that? See how it's like flipping on me? It's kind of weird. Why is it being so dumb? Why won't it let me scroll over there? You see this? Well, I could set it to a switch, I guess. See that, how it says inputs changing? That's a little bit weird. I don't want to inhibit though. There we go. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna go to whatever I can use. Yeah, it's gonna be a pain to set that up. Auxiliary 7. Yeah, let's do auxiliary 7. There we go. Right knob, baby. Next. That's so nice. So now I've got 20 channels. I can actually use 20 channels. This will be the first time in the history of my time with this radio system that I have used anything more than 10.
You probably shouldn't tell me that.
I needed it. I actually did. I did. Okay, so gain channel select. Like, didn't I just do that? Apply. Whoa. Why would you close the door?
It says receiver rebooting.
Okay. Receiver is rebooting. Click for menu. I think it's done.
Really?
Okay, so, well, that was not really that bad, but it was also a little bit weird. Apply. Okay, so now it should be hypothetically up is up, down is down, roll left is roll left, roll right is roll right, rudder left, rudder right. Everything seems to be working, of course. This is going to be my gain for my master gain, but let's see if the stabilization is working. It may not be active because I haven't given throttle. Nope. Okay, so I have to test the landing gear. Might as well do that quick. Oh yeah. Did it work? Okay, throttle cut is currently working. We're gonna go ahead and unthrottle cut. Throttle cut's back on. Ooh. Of course, I can't really tell because it's so inconsequential. Gosh, it's hard to tell.
Definitely has like the normal.
It's got the AS3X
Jitter.
move, but I just can't tell. Okay, so this is the gain. So I'm gonna turn it all the way up and then maybe I can see it better. So all the way up, I believe, is this way, but we'll see which direction it actually is. It's correcting the wrong way on that axis. I can't tell what way it's correcting on that axis, and I just can't tell. So maybe I need to flip it the other way. I can't tell. You can't see it. It's not enough of a change. So we need to figure out how to change the amplitude, I'm guessing. So follow the on-screen, so this is where we are. AS3X tuning, perform a control surface direction test and AS3X reaction test. Test fly the airplane, yeah, right. I'm gonna do that like when I know it's working. Thank you very much. Gyro settings, okay. Relearn servos after making, okay, oscillation occurs. If the gain value is also, okay, fine. That doesn't really tell me much. So now I can go over to, oh, look at that. That's sweet. Is that altitude? Is it gonna work? Woo, that is so cool. It actually works. Oh, that is awesome. So I can tell when I'm achieving the results I want to. Okay, there's your flight mode, G-force, which is sweet. Oh, that is so cool, actually. Okay, so you can set min-maxes. There's your vario. Okay, so I don't think there's any sound yet. That was just me making the noise.
Oh, I couldn't tell.
You couldn't?
It was so
Wow.
realistic.
So I should probably go into telemetry and do one more setting. Telemetry. I am going to go to auto configure. Will not change sensors. Do you want to continue? I did auto configure while we were paused. I didn't mention it. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I did. So that's where all that stuff came from. Gyroscope! So that's one of the settings. Okay, so I can scroll over to it. Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so let's see what happens here. That is so cool. Okay, so look at the yaw axis. Look, yaw, do you see it, yaw? It's correcting the wrong way. Hey, careful. Now I'm gonna go pitch. Look like I'm in a tuba.
Good thing they can't see you.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna roll. I'm gonna roll. That is so cool. Okay, so that's more technology than we had before. More useless technology that we don't need, but I want it anyway. The vario is awesome. I'm super excited about that. So now I need to figure out my AS3X gains in input. See this? See how that changes, guys? That's set to L trim, which is here, or you can do right trim. It's really hard for me to get to this one, so I use this one. The channel FM switch, the flight mode switch is currently set to B. Flight mode 1, 2, and 3, you can set them all differently. So basically in flight mode 0, or excuse me, 1, I can set this to some setting. And then I believe this will modify that setting, but it doesn't appear to be doing much of anything, so we'll play with that later. Okay, so there's 90, some arbitrary value there. Let's see if it changes. Hey, I can almost see it. I can see the rudder is correcting. You guys aren't gonna be able to see, I guarantee it. I just can't hardly see, so I gotta go way more. Okay, so that gain is 100 now. You see how as I twist that toward myself, it comes toward me? I doubt you can see. Take my word for it. It's coming toward me. It's going away from me. It's coming toward me. Now, aileron, up. It's going down. It's going up, but just barely. It's going down, but just barely. It's going up, but just barely. Phew, that's not enough. The elevator is going to be really hard to see on this because I have to change the pitch moment. Here, maybe I can do it this way. So what I'm doing is I'm moving the plane. I cannot tell. I think it's going the right direction, but I don't know for certain. Nice simple setup. Told you this would take 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have that set. Maybe I need to adjust this too and see if that increases it. This being switch G. Ooh, I can see it now for sure. I just don't think that's enough, guys. I think I need to get the gains like way more active. So, you see how it says roll rate heading actual? I don't think you need to actually, that's at 100% supposedly though. All right, there's another thing. Oscillation occurs if it's overshooting the correction. Increase the gain values until you find oscillation, then reduce, okay? I don't think we have enough to cause oscillation yet. Raise the throttle above 25% to activate AS3X and then lower the throttle once the AS3X's active control surface will move in response to aircraft movements. I'm gonna tell you something, guys. Do not test this until you know it's working right, okay? Because you will crash your plane if you have it wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not doing safe, but you can technically do safe with this too. Heading flight modes. I just don't think there's enough. There we go. AS3X gain tuning. Forward programming gyro settings on the AS3X settings. Priority tells the receiver how much to reduce gain when you move the control stick away from the center. If priority is set to 200, the receiver will lower the gain to 0 with any movement of the control stick. Low priority values will dampen more throughout the control input range. The default value is 160 for well balanced. Okay. I don't remember seeing that. Did you see that? That must have been in the automatic part. So if we go back to forward setup, I think we can get in there and play with that. So forward, was it forward programming or forward?
Yeah,
forward programming. Forward programming auto config. What's that? What's that?
Well, on the first page, it said something about.
Well, let's just go into forward programming. Gyro settings, other settings.
No, gyro settings, and then AS3X settings.
AS3X settings, flight mode. I want to see what those are. FM channel. It is active, inhibited, active. Oh, that's sweet. So you could turn that on and off. That's pretty awesome. So the flight mode channel is going to be gear. Yep, that's the way we have. Oh, wait. The flight mode channel is not set for this. I don't know if we can use that one though. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this flight mode channel and we're going to set it to one of those high channels. We'll set it to auxiliary 6. Okay, then I'm going to set it to like this one. Okay. Mostly because I don't know what the heck it's going to do yet, but we'll figure it out. And then we have flight mode and system setup. System setup is different than system setup that you normally go into.
In the standard.
Relearn servo settings, that's to be after we make a bunch of trimming on our maiden flight. Orientation, gain, channel select. Nice. You can have different channels on different, whoa, wow. Where the heck am I gonna put all these channels?
How are you going to remember what they are?
Roll is auxiliary 7. What is auxiliary 7? Oh, that's this. Oh, they're all assigned to this right now. X+1. Okay, so right now it's set to auxiliary 7. So basically we're impacting the gain setting for all 3 channels, but you could actually change them. So like I could have, you know, like roll here and I could have like pitch and then I could have yaw on all 3 sliders or all 3 analog. So, well, anyway, it doesn't really matter. I just need to change the gyro settings. Oh, dang it, that was the settings.
No, you're supposed to go to AS3X settings.
You can also do first time safe setting here. What? Okay,
You're supposed to go
AS3X.
to AS3X settings.
Didn't I already go in there? Yeah, there we go.
Priority
Gain
or something.
sensitivity. This is something I read about. Okay, so one is for agile aircraft with extreme control deflections. Moderate sport airplane should use 2. And the slow okay, so I think we're gonna do, I just honestly, I don't know if it's 4 or 2. I guess we'll try 4 and see what happens. Okay, so fixed adjustable gains. That's all adjustable, okay? Whoa, but that's at flight mode 2. Did you see that? Flight mode 2. What the heck, why? Why are you telling me flight mode 2?
Can you go up to flight mode 2 and select it?
I don't think so. Capture gyro gains. Whoa, look at that. Okay. Okay, so now I want to go to, isn't there a way to test it? No, there's not. You just have to crash it to find out.
Test fly your airplane.
You have to crash it to find out what's in it.
Hilarious.
Oh yes, I can see it. You see it moving? It's moving away from you, it's moving towards you. It's moving away from you. Okay, aileron is moving up, moving down, moving up, moving down. Oh yes, it's working. Elevators up, elevators down, elevators up, elevators down. So we're supposed to test fly this right now?
No,
Looks dead calm to me.
it is not dead calm. Where's the wind stop?
Is it dead calm?
Nope.
Come on, is it really not?
It's really not.
Okay, so I don't really see a difference in gain at all here, guys. Okay, so let's show the people at home. So as I wiggle this, I can hear the output. Oh, wait. So I'll show them this on the screen here. Dang it. Okay, see, when you do a throttle trim, it leaves it at trim 1, but then when you do LT, it changes. That should be reducing it. That should be extending it, but I don't see any difference. Do you see? I can't hear any difference.
I can't either.
So I'm gonna do the same thing here. All the way down, all the way up. I don't hear a difference at all. Nothing, 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 nothing. There's no difference at all. I don't understand how to impact change on that. So we've missed something in the setup, okay? The good news is they're all moving in the right directions, okay? Yes, yes, and yes. So we have everything working. Now it's just a matter of AS3X gains. See this, camera crew? Check this out. You see this? How it's changing the value? There's your gain. I wonder if that's going to change it. See, this is flight mode 1. I just don't see any change. I can't hear any change.
No.
I definitely cannot hear any change. So I guess I'm going to put it in the middle and we'll see what it does, because honestly, I don't know what else to think about that.
Do we need to read?
Do I need to read? Yeah, maybe.
Let's do that.
Okay, we'll pause. Okay, guys, so we've decided that we have no clue what we're doing, which is great. So just follow what we did. Okay, scroll in and go to dual rates in Expo. We're gonna set up our dual rates in Expo as would typically be set up. So on ailerons, we're gonna set that to F. On the first switch, we're gonna set that to Expo of, let's just go 10%, then Expo of 20, and then Expo of 30. And we're gonna reduce the rates to 90, okay? So that way, hypothetically, we'll fly in the middle. If all goes well, we're good. If it's a little bit too insensitive, we can flip up here and get landed. If it's a little bit too sensitive, we can flip down here and get landed, okay? But the idea is you start in the middle, you can go up, you can go down. That's what we wanted to do with the AS3X, but we don't know why it's not impacting change when we flip the switches that we seem to have designated for those functions. So we're gonna figure that out. Okay, now we're gonna go to elevator, do the same thing. Switch F, we'll go to 10, then we're going to 20 on the middle setting for F, and then for, all right, there we go. We'll reduce this down to 90. Okay, same thing. So we're going to start in the middle. We need a little bit more sensitivity, a little bit less sensitivity. We can get it to the ground. We can make our changes for the second flight from the maiden flight. Switch F, expo to 10. And then we'll go to 20 in the middle, which is where we expect to fly. And then we'll set this to 30. And we'll set that down to 90. I'm expecting good results from the AS3X because AS3X is a superior product to any other stabilization system I've used. And I've used a bunch of them. So I've used some flight controllers. I've used A3L, A3. I've used the Lemon RX line. I've used Orange. I've used, obviously, the DSMX variety, which is going to be basically AS3X and safe. And it's just the best. And then I've used the cheap Chinese stuff, which, you know, some of it, actually, one or two of them have worked even better on weird vehicles like VTOLs. But other than that, it's always been better in the planes. AS3X is always far superior. So my only concern right now that's preventing me from wanting to go fly is because I don't know how to change my gain setting. Now, I do know how to do this. Watch, in forward flight or forward programming, okay, wait that load, go to gyro, go to AS3X setup. And there's also priority, which we haven't messed with. 160 is, see, this is flight mode 2. See what I'm talking about? Like flight mode 2. You see how this doesn't change? See how it doesn't change? Like I don't.
How do you change your flight mode?
And then heading gain, pitch and roll. Use caution for yaw gain. Like I just don't know what. Do we assign that then to a switch?
This one here, priority tells the receiver how much to reduce gain. When you move the control stick set to 200, the receiver will lower gain to 0 with any movement of the control stick. Low priority values will dampen more throughout the control input range.
Yeah, but
default value of 160 provides a well-balanced field for most pilots.
Which is priority. Okay, so priority is fine. So that's basically allowing me to overwhelm the AS3X or the AS3X to overwhelm me, okay? That's fine. So at neutral stick, it's gonna have full control. At 50%, it's gonna have less control, but I'm still gonna have some control. And at full stick deflection, I'm gonna have almost full control and it's gonna have virtually no control. That's why flap rounds don't work on certain planes that we review in the future, even though you'll probably see the video before this comes out. So anyway, the heading is what I'm talking about. The gain sensitivity 4 is I want that to be adjustable. Can it be adjustable? I don't think so. Fixed or adjustable. See, this is all adjustable, but how is it adjustable?
Well, and it also has flight mode 2.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, F mode setup. Ooh, did you see how it just changed? FM channel. We already set that to auxiliary switch, which is D, which we just changed. Okay, hold on, let's go next. It's not changing though. Am I already doing something with that switch? No. Next, okay, so it's active. It's inhibited. Okay, so we're back. I don't want to do safe setup because I don't care to have safe on this model. And by the way, the safe setup is like a whole nother 3 pages.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly like a bind and fly, folks. By the way, quick 2-second elaboration. When you have an opportunity to buy a bind and fly plane from Horizon and you buy a plug and fly, you're crazy because it's a lot of work. And to be perfectly honest, once you get it set up, it wouldn't be such a big deal because you can actually copy just the AS3X setup and store it as a separate model that can then be opened up and used for a new model, just so you know. It's in this manual. This manual is more information than I've ever gotten from Spectrum in the entire 5 years I've been doing this. I'm just joking. It's not quite that much. It's probably 3/4 of that. So my issue right now is I don't know how to gain channel select is on auxiliary 7. Auxiliary 7 is tied to this. Let's walk out and make sure. On gain, oh, auxiliary 7. Oh, you know what it could be? I don't have my extra channels on. I wonder if I have to go down to system setup, regular system setup, and I have to go to channel assign. Look at this. There's channel 7 is set to auxiliary 2. You have to turn on the extra channels somewhere. I don't know if it's under here. There's a place where you have to turn on the extra channels. So let's just, for sake of making this possibly work right now, let's go into the AS3X gains. See, how do I adjust that? See, this doesn't change anything. This doesn't change anything. This does change things. We know that. These are the 3 different flight modes, but we're not actually impacting change here with anything that I can figure out. So if we go into forward programming, what was that VTX setup? I wonder if that's Vario. Other settings. I don't want to do gyro settings, AS3X settings, flight mode settings. I think I know why this isn't working. FM channel is set to a channel that I am not currently set up to control on my radio. So auxiliary 6 becomes, I'm not doing anything with E. I'm not really doing anything with auxiliary 1 yet. I'll just leave it there for now, just to test my theory, okay? It's assigned to switch D now. No change. So that just went to auxiliary 2, which is within our confines. And then the AS3X setting, AS3X gains, those gains are probably fine, but that's for flight mode 2. Fixed adjustable. See how it's adjustable? Capture gyro gains. Where the heck did I set the switch? Was that under setup, initial setup, first time? So it's not under there. It's not under there. That's D. That's not the one for G. That's supposed to be the master gain is what I want to change.
I think that was...
Relearn orientation gain channel setting. Auxiliary 7. Okay, so that's it. So aux 7 is going to become... We were on... Do you remember which one we were on? Aux 2? Aux 3. Let's just do aux 3. I don't even know what it is. There is a way to easily turn on those additional channels. I just don't want to figure it out right now. So we'll go to aux 3. Then we'll make a enable F modes. F mode 3. Okay. No, that's not what we want. Gain channel select. So it's auxiliary 3 right now. But then where do we actually...
There was something in the regular system setup.
No, it was all in here. FM channel. That's D. Okay, pause it. We'll come right back. Okay, so I think I found out something I was doing wrong. I'm not sure why it was wrong, but I've set auxiliary, my FN mode, my flight mode channel to auxiliary 4. This is not to be confused with the flight mode within the regular system setup. This is just for the AS3X. I selected switch D to control auxiliary 4, okay? So that's within our purview, okay? So now when I go into this menu, you can see it changes from flight mode 1, 2, and 3, okay? So now when I go into the AS3X active FM channel, sorry, let's go back. Now we can go to AS3X settings, and then I can go to gains. You see how the gains are all the same? When I highlight this, now it changes. See? So I'm just going to change these each. By 5, okay? So it's going to go from 5 each time. Except I really probably want that to be on C so I can get to it easier. So we'll go back one setting, we'll go to F mode setup. We'll change the channel. We'll leave the channel, but we'll set it to C, okay? Okay, good, so that's done. So now, hypothetically, when we do this, oh, we gotta give it throttle. Throttle cuts back on. Dang. I don't know what the heck we did wrong. But now we have control over the gain. You can see the rudder correcting to the left, correcting to the right. Now watch for the roll. Up, up, elevator up, down, up, down. The nose gear is always confusing. Look at the control surfaces, I promise you. Okay, so we have it so that it's demonstrable. We can verify it's working, and we can also change the gain, which is nice. So we want to change from the middle. Now this should also, I don't think that, okay, show the people on the screen. So on the home screen, when I flip, you can see it's changing the flight mode. I don't know if that does anything. When I give it a trim adjustment, that's trim adjustment for the gains, I believe. Not trim adjustment for throttle. This is throttle, okay? Goodness gracious. I can't see how anybody could possibly confuse this at all. So all the control surfaces are going in the right direction. They are confirmed to be correcting in the right direction. Up, down, up, down, up, down, left, right. And nose gear always seems to be backwards, so don't worry about that. And I'm just verifying we have that, that, and that. Everything has been tested with the exception of throttle cut. It has been tested. Throttle cut is working. Throttle cut's working. So the only thing that hasn't been tested now is gear, since we got into all this. And the other thing I noticed is that my gear, my landing lights are not coming on. Okay, gear up. Gear down. So now we need to look at the landing lights for just a quick second and see if we can figure out why they're not coming on. Probably a good thing, because they would have drained the battery by now. I'm not sure why the landing lights aren't coming on at all. They should have been coming on. I think we have everything plugged in right. So we're gonna dig in here for just a second and see if we can find it. All right, guys, you remember when we cleaned up all those wires? How nice it looked? This is what it looks like now, because I had to find number 6 that was down yonder. Number 5 was already plugged in for the gear, but number 6 was just a shorter lead because it goes down to that controller module for the LEDs. Remember this weird one? For whatever reason, I'm using that one, okay? You can see they've clipped the red wire. This one does work actually here. I'm gonna go back into port 5. This is gonna energize the lights and the gear door. you'll notice that when we cycle the landing gear, okay. It's my favorite trick of the day. Just did this a second ago off camera, and now on camera it doesn't work. So we're just gonna power cycle the whole plane. I think what's going on is we're powering the LEDs, which are powering the retracts because of the way the lights are configured. Okay, that door will open after everything initiates. Door opens, lights are off because we haven't cycled gear, and the gear are currently in the closed condition. Gear are now opened, everything's where they need to be. Gear gonna close, gear door is gonna close. Gear deployed, lights come on, gear come down. So hopefully you don't intermittently disconnect that halfway through flight. Okay, so let's show the people what we did. One wire, 5 in this case, goes to the gear door or the gear sequencer. You're gonna have to come around here, please. Gear sequencer is the one that's on the side. Okay, that thing. Servo wire comes from that to F, or whatever this is. I don't know, we pulled this out earlier. And then 6 also goes into the other half. Then number 3 goes into number 5 in this case, okay? I don't know what the significance is there, but I got it to work. I also had some level of success with a regular splitter, except that the lights didn't stay on, they only triggered for a second. Don't ask me why. I think it's because we have 2 different power supplies involved. So now I get to tuck all that crap back in. You've already seen me do it once. I'm not gonna bore you with it again because it was horrible the first time. At this point, we have all the control axis working. Okay, throttle cuts off. Both are working, both are blowing air the correct direction. And stabilizer should be working, which it is, with gains and flight mode control. So we call that set up. Now I just got to tuck these wires in and hope that Mother Nature cooperates for a flight so I don't go crazy, because this was a lot of work. Okay. All right, guys, so as you can see, we've got everything nice and tidied up in there, except for that thing that just fell off the wing. So basically that was just a ram and cram job, and it worked out perfectly. I will hopefully not need to get back in there. That's twice I've had to tear things out because I forgot something. And when I say forgot something, it's very easy to forget something that doesn't show up. So make sure that you don't get things too out of alignment in there, because you'll have trouble remembering where they go since you've never hooked it up before. Okay, so that's the way that's gonna go. This is the 3200 4S 30C pack. We're gonna just ram that in. Get that right into the mark point. Okay, so it's at the mark point. Pull the battery wires over, get them out of the way. We're just gonna get everything plugged in, make sure the CG checks out again. Okay, so here we go.
You got cats at your feet.
Yep, I know. Thank you for warning me. So now you have to wait for it to initiate the AS3X. Once it comes alive, you'll see the lights turn on. Make sure you cycle the gear on this plane and any of the other Supreme-Hobbies style planes. Am I gonna hit that lapel mic?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll readjust. So in closing, guys, this radio setup was way more complicated than I wanted it to be, but I hope it's gonna be really rewarding. It sure looks good. It's exciting. I cannot wait to see this thing fly. For me, it's gonna be about 30 seconds.